Welcome to Fanfiction Audiobooks. Marvel, Opening Prince of Asgard. Chapter 61 Strange Reaction. Found that the host is trying to recruit Iron Man, start to choose. Option 1, directly kill Iron Man, reward, directly obtain all knowledge of Iron Man Mark 1 to Mark Nano Armor, physical resistance +1. Option 2, force Iron Man to join the host force, reward, the research process of the scientific research team under the host's command has been greatly improved, and physical resistance +1. Option 3, induce Iron Man to join the host force, reward, the research progress of the scientific research team under the host's command is randomly improved, and physical resistance +1. The choice of the system came to Caesar's mind when Caesar first exported Iron Man. But Caesar was slow to make a choice. The first option is to instantly gain knowledge of the Mark Nami warframe, replicate it and train it, along with a wealth of resources at Caesar's disposal. It can add a lot of mid to low-end combat power to Caesar very quickly. But the strength of the Mark Nano armor is just that, if it can't be improved again. For Caesar, it doesn't make much difference at all. In the low-end combat power, Caesar has never lacked. The first option was simply ignored by Caesar. What matters are the second and third options. Forcing Iron Man to join him is very easy for today's Caesar. Just asking Sun to blink would show Tony who he was facing, he had no choice. This can also greatly speed up the research process of his research team, which can be regarded as one of his goals. But forcing scientists of any kind to work for one faction is short-sighted and dangerous. It's okay to work without effort, when researching some powerful and dangerous subjects. Do some tricks on purpose, causing the experiment to fail, or the finished product to be flawed. All of these make it difficult to determine whether the scientist did it on purpose. You must know that some experimental materials are extremely precious. And once some finished products are flawed, at some critical moment, it is very likely to lead to a crucial victory or defeat. This annoyed Caesar a little. Caesar was unable to make a decision for a while, and again tempted, saying, "Or some potion that will keep you and your family and friends healthy and long. Or what do you want, just talk about it." Caesar didn't want to coerce Iron Man if he could induce it. "Sorry, Pepper and I are still young. Maybe, when we're old, we'll think about it." Tony moved slightly, but still refused. Palladium poisoning has been completely solved by him, and he still has a lot of time. He is also very satisfied with his current life, and does not want to work for a god out of nowhere. Even the perks are really tempting. Okay, Caesar's eyes froze, just as he was considering whether to let the sun blink. The sudden intrusion of the S.H.I.E.L.D agent with a dark bald head made him laugh. Caesar glanced meaningfully at the one-eyed bald head, and then tried his best to expand the sun sensor. In the huge number of natural reactions of the human body, many strange reactions that are very different from ordinary people have been found. And there are some peculiar responses to the geographical location, which is quite unique. Valina, who was drinking, glanced at the one-eyed bald head. He was stunned for a moment, and after a concentrated look, his left hand was about to attack the one-eyed bald head. As for the right hand, he was still holding a wine bottle and using a bottle of good wine to beat people. Valina was a little reluctant. Caesar smiled and grabbed Varina's left hand. He turned his eyes and gestured to Valina to leave it alone. "Begin to face uninvited guests who break in. Mr. Stark, it looks like you're in some trouble. If it wasn't for you, I think my troubles might be a little less." Nick. Fury glanced at Tony Stark, who shrugged, waved for the following agents to disperse, and then stared straight at Caesar. In his eyes, there is deep fear and longing. "Sir, can you tell me why you broke into the house privately in the middle of the night? Also, please tell me who you are and why you are here." Nick. Fury asked formulaically. "I'm only here to hire Mr. Stark to work for me. As for who am I? You should have a picture of me," Caesar said casually to Nick. Fury. Caesar had taken Valina to force the Kerry Empire cruiser inhabited by a large number of Screwnamen to capture the Tesseract. But he didn't deliberately hide his and Valina's appearance. That cruiser definitely has a skin monitoring function. Nick. Fury was stunned for a moment, then said calmly. It's really you. You should know that Tesseract has always been a treasure of the earth, please return it. Oh, since when has the Tesseract been the treasure of earth? Also, when will you be able to represent the entire earth again? Caesar laughed, then said. It seems that without the Tesseract as an energy core, do you even dare to run out of the earth? Yes, without the speed of light engine, leaving the earth, without Carol's shock to the Kerry Empire, I am afraid that as soon as I leave the jumping point, the Kerry Empire will be killed. Not only that, but you have been trapped here for a long time, have you been unable to access a lot of information about the universe? After all, it's just a group of refugees who have been hidden. Although it is almost impossible, I still want to ask, do you have control over the core technology tree of the Skrull Empire? Caesar glanced contemptuously at the Skrull disguised as Nick. Fury, then began to exude a strong pressure, and asked forcing. I do not know what you're talking about. The Skrull disguised as Nick. Fury answered with difficulty. Behind him, the group of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents had all collapsed to the ground. Caesar used his divine power to observe carefully and found that the Skrull disguised as Nick. Fury showed no signs of lying. He sighed and replied. Okay, I really thought too much. It's impossible to think about it. How can the most precious technology at the core of a huge empire be handed over to some refugees for safekeeping? Let's do it today, Mr. Stark, I'm beginning to believe that you will accept my invitation. After all, perhaps for the sake of the world, you have to make a choice. Caesar smiled mysteriously at Stark, and glanced meaningfully at the Skrull posing as Nick. Fury again. Then, he pulled Valina and disappeared directly. Asterisk. Chapter 62 The Earth and Number 039, S Hidden Secrets. Director Nick Fury, or something. About the Tesseract, the Kerry Empire, and the refugees and whatever. Don't you have anything to say to me? All S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were unconscious, but Tony Stark didn't fall. Tony Stark, who had listened to the entire conversation, immediately put on a suit of armor again. After Caesar mysteriously disappeared. Begin questioning the Skrulls posing as Nick. Fury. Damn, someone will explain it to you, but now, I have to get out of here. The Skrull disguised as Nick. Fury finished speaking, ignoring the unconscious agent and Stark, who was questioning him. Quickly left Stark's mansion. The mighty Aesir gods who once forcibly took away the Tesseract suddenly appeared on Earth. These are extremely important for the Skrulls who can only recreate the lightspeed engine and leave the Earth with Tesseract, escape the pursuit of the Kree, and go to the vast universe. He didn't have time to explain it to Stark. And, to explain this sort of thing, it's up to the real Nick Fury to do it. Now, the most important thing for him is to pass this news to all the Skrulls who remain on Earth. Above the void, Caesar pulled Valina and looked down at New York with the twinkling lights below. It's so prosperous, I don't know how long it will last. Valina asked directly. Why didn't you just let me force that Skrull out? I like Midgard a lot, I don't want those annoying Skrulls to occupy this place. If we want to occupy it, it should also be occupied by us. That's the fish I caught. You can't be frightened. And, you know, that Baldhead and the Skrull are in a partnership. Perhaps, he had the Skrulls pretending to be him on purpose. If you destroy this play directly, he won't be able to play it any longer. Caesar replied with a smile. That bald head. The ugly hair is gone, and it's really blind. He has no idea what the Skrulls stand for, and he will bring disaster to the whole of Midgard. Valina said angrily. No, maybe the disaster has already happened. Caesar smiled mysteriously and continued. However, who made him covet credit? In 6 years, he became a director from a third-level agent. The scrolls must have helped him a lot, and it is not too much to receive a little return. What about the Iron Man? Why don't you just let him know who he is facing, and dare to refuse your invitation? However, is he really powerful? Can he be compared to Tianji Wang Hexi? Can a small Midgard have such a character? Valina asked again, although she drank a lot of Tony's wine, but Caesar was clearly the most important to her. Tony may not be as good as Hexi now, but in the future, it's hard to say. And Midgard, it's not that simple. Have you ever thought about the 9 realms ruled by Asgard? Except Midgard, all other circles have powerful power and unique technology, and Midgard, what is there? Why is it worth Asgard to rule? Besides, there are many other gods and Hell lords who coveted Midgard's dimension. Have you ever thought about why? Why does Midgard attract the attention of so many powerful people? Also, I remember telling you the story of the god egg, his countless descendants. How can the descendants of the earth succeed in inheriting the power of the gods, and the rest will not work? Have you thought about why? It's all put together, it can't be a coincidence. Having said this, Caesar shook his head and continued. The soul of human beings on earth is very unique. They have a high probability of being able to give birth to the top wise men who stand on the top of the universe. There is also enough probability that a powerful magician will be born that can confront Mephisto. At the same time, their souls are of great value. If they can successfully gain their faith, perhaps, the strength of the angel kings can be further improved. After Caesar advanced the solar power to the 4th order high level, through careful observation of human beings, and combined with many facts, Ying Yue finally discovered this point. The value of the earth is very high. The secret contained in it may be even more amazing. Valina was lost in thought. Then he said hastily. Since the value of Midgard is so high, why don't we just mobilize the army and directly rule here? Old way, the predators invaded, Angel rescued in time, and then built the temple, you can directly occupy this place. Also, that Iron Man is so powerful that he simply kidnapped him directly, no matter if he was brainwashed or coerced, he could always become a member of the Tiangong. I'm calling Roar here to call the Marauders here. Caesar reached out and stopped Valina. It's not that simple, Midgard is now nominally under Asgard. At least, I need to speak to the great king of God. Also, didn't you notice? Here, there is already angels' faith. To gain their faith, you have to figure out a way to kill your competitors. The earth will be mine, and no one can touch it. When Caesar said this, there was a glint in his eyes, and then he said with a smile. As for Tony Stark, the brains of top wise men are very precious, and brainwashing is not acceptable. No hurry, he will join us voluntarily. We have time. If you have 100 years, are you willing to spend a month waiting for a top elite to join your company? I think most people would like to. So what if you have 10,000 years or more? Caesar has long been a god. I have also learned to use the scale of gods to measure time. He could wait, and he could afford it, but it was only a few years. In the future change, in the shadow of the scrolls. Caesar believes that Tony Stark will make the right choice in the end. But now, Caesar looked into the distance, and Bifrost's fluctuations were too obvious. Perhaps, Loki has new troubles. He should need to talk to himself. Asterisk. Chapter 63 The Skrull and Number 039, S Experiment. There are new huge energy fluctuations. Could it be that there will be mysterious people appearing and disappearing suddenly? It doesn't matter, this time I will observe from a distance in the dark, and I won't make direct contact for the time being. Phil Coulson is still guarding Mjolnir near the Mexican town. Having not received the latest news from Nick Fury, he began to carefully observe Sif and the 3 Asgard warriors who came through Bifrost again. The same bizarre costume. Are they role-playing? Or from some mysterious place? Phil Coulson secretly complained while observing from a distance. On the other side, in the town, Thor is happily having lunch with Jane and Jane's friends. The three warriors of Asgard and Sif, the goddess of harvest, were directly under the surveillance of S.H.I.E.L.D, and the strange eyes of everyone in the town came to the door. "I found you!" The four of them slammed on the glass door in excitement, and Thor and Jane also noticed the arrival of the four. Thor went up to them directly and gave everyone a big hug, while Jane and the others, looking at the four people in fancy clothes, were so surprised that they dropped the cup in their hands. "He's not really Thor, is he?" Jane's best friend poked Jane, whose eyes were widened, and said quietly. Jane didn't answer, just looked deeply at the goddess of harvest, Sif. The three warriors of Asgard start a reminiscence with Sif and Thor, and tell Thor that Odin is not dead. Debunked Loki's lies. Thor frowned. But Thor, who was not attacked by the destroyer, didn't think about what to do next for a while. The great ruler of the heavenly palace, the second strongest in the known universe, turned out to be my brother. I am really honored. Loki's figure appeared in front of Caesar, and said with a small smile. Caesar shook his head, smiled, and said meaningfully. My mother thinks you are her son, then you will be my brother. Otherwise, you are nothing. I think you should understand that. Definitely, Loki's face changed, then continued. Mom told me that you gave up the son of Odin, the heir of Asgard by self-trial. Maybe. Caesar replied with a smile. So, my dear brother, what happened to make you come to me? You're not just here to exchange feelings with me, are you? Loki smirked, then said. The goddess of harvest, Sif, and the three warriors of Asgard, who committed treason and violated the king's orders, came to Midgard privately to visit Thor. I wonder, how should I treat them? Caesar is still on Earth, and is clearly recalled by Frigga to look after Thor. After learning of Caesar's strength, Loki did not dare to send the destroyer directly. How you treat them is your business, not mine. No, I don't really care about the whole Asgard thing, exactly. Only one point, Mum must not be sad or hurt, and Heimdall must not be hurt. If anything goes wrong with them, I'd be pissed. Do you understand my wishes? Caesar looked Loki in the eyes and said very seriously. Definitely, your will. There seemed to be a cold sweat on Loki's face, and he hurriedly replied. Caesar nodded in satisfaction, and continued. I have no intention of intervening in any of your plans, but I want to make an agreement with you, or how about a deal? Oh, being able to trade with you, that's certainly no small thing. But I believe that being an older brother will never let my younger brother suffer. When Loki heard the agreement and the deal, he immediately became interested. As long as Caesar needs Loki somewhere, then Caesar won't spoil his plans. I promise, the harvest may be beyond your imagination. Caesar smiled mysteriously and began to discuss the specific transaction in detail. On the other side, Phil Coulson, who was watching Thor and the four warriors of Asgard, was watching. But suddenly received news and gave up monitoring them. The headquarters of S.H.I.E.L.D. was urgently withdrawn, leaving only a small team of agents as routine guards at Mjolnir. Boss, why did you suddenly give up monitoring them? They must have a problem. An agent asked Phil Coulson in confusion. He has a good relationship with Phil Coulson, and that sort of thing isn't a ban. Phil Coulson shook his head. There must be something big happening in the bureau, or the director has other arrangements. Hopefully, it's not what I thought. Phil Coulson and others left the town directly. Outside the town, a few helicopters dragged some containers towards Thor and others. Inside the container, there seems to be some terrifying aura brewing. With a bang, several containers were dropped directly by the helicopter on the main road of the town. Nearby is where Jane lives. Some townspeople watched the container curiously. Until inside the container, there was a terrifying roar. The 3 Asgard warriors and Sif sensed the danger in the container, drew their weapons, and began to stand guard. Thor also saw something, and hurriedly yelled for the townspeople to leave. With a bang, the containers were all opened. Monster! The townspeople gave a curious look, leading to a shocking roar shout. Then, quickly began to run away. Several green goblins, several lizardmen, one hated, and one mutant, who had multiple mutant abilities, but whose whole body was beginning to fester, glanced at Thor and the others. Attacked directly. Damn, what are these things? Sif and others guarded Thor and Jane and began to fight to the death with these monsters. On the helicopter, several Skrulls looked at the footage from the surveillance and began to whisper. Hope these experiments can successfully take down these Aesir Protoss. The information about the powerful Aesir Protoss must be obtained through them. By the way, don't hurt the Protoss who became immortal, he seems to be a prince. Keep them and try to exchange with that Aesir god race. They can also be our latest experiment. Genetic research can't stop, we have to push these experiments further. One day, each of our Skrulls will have the same power as Carol or that Aesir. On that day, we will rush out of the earth and take revenge against the Kerry Empire. The great Skrull Empire will surely rise again. But until then, our experiments must be conducted in secrecy, said one of the leading Skrulls. Definitely, everything is in the plan, we have blocked that town, no news, no one can leave. A Skrull saluted and assured himself. Asterisk. Chapter 64 The Default Heir. The battle between Sif et.al. and the Skrull experiment continues. The agility of the Green Goblin, the strength and recovery of the Lizardman, combined with the incomparably powerful Abomination and the mutant experiment with multiple abilities. The battle was very difficult. After a while, the residents of the small town who should have left safely not far away also heard shrill screams. Several green goblins were on skateboards, blocking all the way out of the town. Damn it! The police station can't get through at all. The signal is all blocked. They want to kill us all. I don't want to die, help! Mommy! The residents of the town who returned were groaning in confusion. The people Sif and others can protect are always limited. Besides Thor and Thor's friends, it is difficult for them to protect others. From time to time, residents of the town died tragically in front of Thor and others. Thor was very angry, but he still failed to awaken Thor's power. And Jane, the professor, and others around Thor looked at Thor, and they no longer had the curiosity and goodwill they once had. Only anger and fear remained. They could see, those monsters. They all came to Thor and others. They are just ordinary people, they just want to live ordinary lives. Jane has lived here for many years, and the townspeople are all their relatives and friends. And now, they died tragically in front of Jane. The battle continued, and the tragic deaths of the town's residents failed to stop any monsters. Instead, the surrounding monsters became free. Green Goblin and Lizardman, in front of Sif and others who are used to fighting. It's nothing, but some weak chickens that are almost level 1. As adults, Awakening's giants of Jotunheim can easily kill them. After all, apart from some physical power, they don't have any special divine power. But hatred and the festering mutant were not easy to deal with. The 3 warriors with only second-tier strengths fought against the rockets and fireballs from time to time by mutant while killing the Lizardman and Green Goblin who were trying to sneak attack. I have to take care of Thor and others, and there have been many minor wounds all over my body. As for being the strongest among the crowd, possess third-order strength, even stronger than Loki's harvest goddess Sif. At the moment is fighting a bloody abomination. Even if it's only the Hulk's defense product, the hatred has a powerful third-order combat power. If the success rate is not too low and difficult to control, the Skrull's hatred army has already taken shape. Great strength, super defense, and super fast regeneration of the flesh. It is also difficult for the mighty Aesirs to gain benefit in the face of hatred. The long sword in Sif's hand cut a lot of wounds on Abomination's body, and green blood splashed everywhere. But these injuries, not only failed to weaken the power of hatred, but made him more violent and stronger. Sif is still holding on. But the Asgard 3 warriors began to feel a little unbearable. Ugly green lizardmen not only have the ability of strength and recovery, but also have the ability to be invisible. A lizardman turned invisible, took advantage of the unpreparedness of the 3 warriors, slammed his claws, and scratched 5 long scars on the belly of the fat Vorstag who looked like a wine barrel. Blood was overflowing, and Vorstag groaned in pain, and his movements were slow. The lizardmen took advantage of the victory to pursue, and slammed their claws again, directly grabbing Vorstag's head. At the moment of crisis, Fandral, who has always been sensitive, turned around and stabbed directly. The sharp stabbing sword pierced the head of the lizardman directly from the eye. If I hadn't eaten too much, I could have avoided it. Vorstag grumbled, then raised his axe again and fought hard. Fandral didn't answer, the battle was too urgent. The 3 clearly began to be awkward. Their movements gradually began to slow down. Thor also became more and more anxious and helpless. Seeing that a huge ice arrow was about to pierce the head of the incapacitated Vorstag, Thor begins to roar, Mjolnir, coming through the air. With the recovery of divine power, the Third Order Thor and the blessing of Mjolnir are enough to have a combat power close to the standard Fourth Order. Lightning danced, Mjolnir swung all around. A large number of lizards like Green Goblin died violently. Even the mutant with multiple abilities festered, he couldn't take a single blow in front of Thor holding Mjolnir. But hatred is not so easy to deal with. Sif and the 3 warriors rejoice as Thor regains his powers while bandaging Roar. As for the people in the town who died, they were just mortals from Midgard who didn't know each other. During the battle, there are casualties, isn't that normal? Abomination is definitely not a match for Thor, who has regained his powers, but his physique is also extraordinary. Even after being hit by Thor's hammer several times, not only did he not die. On the contrary, he still maintained a strong stamina. However, keep going. Hatred, no matter how strong one's physical strength is, can only lead to defeat. Mjolnir plus the power of thunder is by no means easy to endure. The Skuru people who were watching the battle from a distance began to sit still a little bit. Green Goblin Lizardmen, these inferior products, even if they die, even the mutant with multiple abilities can die. But every hatred that has been successfully developed is extremely cherished, and it cannot be easily damaged here. Thor's power awakening, the mission has no hope of success. The Skrulls hurriedly controlled the remaining Green Goblin and the Lizardmen to attack the defenseless Jane and others. Hold Thor's attention for a moment. Then, controlling his hatred, he ran away quickly. After a few jumps, they disappeared in the eyes of Thor and others. Thorbjorn wanted to pursue, but looked at the injured Asgard 3 warriors, as well as the terrified Jane and others. Helplessly stopped, just looking at the corpses of the people in the town who had also smiled at him. Heart cannot help but a little heavy. For the first time, he understood that a battle would bring so many innocent casualties. When Caesar was in Thor's divine power awakening, he had already noticed the abnormality. Then, hiding beside him, watching Thor show his power, and watching Thor, he learned to grow a little. As for the secret human experiments conducted by the Skrulls, some of them caught Caesar by surprise. But just in time, it can be matched with Caesar's future plans, adding a lot of money to a certain chip. Thor was still guiltily comforting the severely frightened Jane and the others. The 3 Asgard warriors, especially Sif, are starting to get a little restless. Odin wasn't dead, Loki tricked Thor. It's not a big deal, since Loki often tricks Thor around. But if Loki ever conspired with Lauf, king of the giants of Jotunheim, and privately released several giants of Jotunheim into Asgard, This is very serious. Sif deliberately exaggerates the seriousness of the matter, and Thor begins to worry about his parents in Asgard. So, after a short rest, Roar began to evoke Heimdall. Hopefully he can drop Bifrost and put them back in Asgard. Heimdall at the moment is not frozen. Because of Caesar, Loki simply used the king's prerogative to temporarily transfer Heimdall. Then, directly using the Spear of Eternity, Gungnir, activated Bifrost, which attracted Lauf, king of the giants of Jotunheim. Going on with his plan. The exclusive weapon of the God King, Gungnir, and the future Stormbreaker. Both have the power to directly motivate Bifrost. Thor has been Odin's chosen heir since the beginning. ***. Chapter 65 Negotiations with Odin, 6 more. Stormbreaker can obviously increase the power of thunder, and the awakening of Thunder Court's power is only Thor. That's Odin, the God King weapon prepared for Thor long ago. Heimdall, who was not frozen, observed Thor and others who had regained his power. After thinking for a while, I opened Bifrost. Send Thor and others back to Asgard. As the new patron saint of Asgard, he possesses the Eye of the Nine Realms. Loki's identity was not hidden from Heimdall's eyes. He has never been loyal to Loki. Thor returns as usual, while Loki has taken the opportunity to use Odin's weapon, Gungnir. Before Odin's eyes, the sneak attack killed the king of the giants of Jotunheim, his biological father, Lauf. Gungnir greatly enhanced Loki's strength, allowing him, who was originally a weak third-tier chicken, to have a weak fourth-tier strength. 3 zeros. In the face of the unsuspecting King Lauf of the giants of Jotunheim, whose source of power was taken away and severely wounded. Natural success. Later, Loki was also very surprised to see Thor, who suddenly appeared in front of him. He had no idea how Thor regained his powers, and how he returned directly to Asgard. It all went beyond his plan. Thor begins to question Loki why he cheated on him. And why sneak the giants of Jotunheim into Asgard? Loki didn't answer, and chose to go ahead with his original plan. Destroy Jotunheim, destroy the kingdom of giants of Jotunheim, kill all giants of Jotunheim. In this way, to prove his identity, to prove his love for Odin and Asgard. There have just been a large number of innocent mortals. Because of a small battle, he died tragically in front of Thor. Thor, now, how willing to see the countless giants of Jotunheim all die. Even, that used to be his enemy. But there must have been countless civilians too. Thor begins to be struck by the idea of peace. So, fight to stop Loki. Bifrost has been forcibly activated by Loki using Gungnir, and Heimdall is healing with the 3 Asgard warriors. Also, God King weapon's control over Bifrost is above Heimdall. Heimdall was powerless and did not think to stop Loki from destroying Jotunheim. Odin's retreat over the past 1,000 years has indeed caused a dark tide in the 9 realms. There are too many forces that think Asgard has lost his elite and Odin has grown old. It is no longer worthy to rule the entire 9 realms. They are just waiting for an opportunity. If you can use Bifrost, destroy Jotunheim directly. Maybe let those hidden forces understand what is unstoppable and what is the majesty of Asgard. Only war can win peace. Heimdall, who sees everything, knows this. The fight continued, and even with Gungnir at the helm, the incompetent Loki was still no match for Thor with Mjolnir. In order to prevent the destruction of Jotunheim, the once great enemy of Asgard, Thor did not hesitate to use Mjolnir. It broke Bifrost, and also broke a love affair between him and Jane. Jane, who has experienced human tragedy and the tragic death of her relatives and friends. In fact, it has long been unable to look directly at the male god who once made it curious and admired. Sometimes, curious, really will be dead man. Bifrost was destroyed, causing a lot of space turbulence, and Asgard's defense system collapsed instantly. Caesar was also at this moment, pulling Valina, directly above the broken Bifrost. At the moment, Thor and Loki were about to fall into the endless void. But Odin woke up just in time and appeared, holding Thor in one hand. And Gungnir in Thor's hands, at the moment is also being firmly grasped by Loki. Odin glanced at Caesar, not having time to speak. Then, decisively dismissed Loki's illusion. Whatever Loki does, whatever Loki does. Loki, there is no way to get Odin's equal recognition. Because Loki has always been a giant of Jotunheim, Odin picked it up on purpose. Prepare a tool for indirectly ruling Jotunheim in the future. Loki is Lauf's son. After Lauf's death, with the support of Asgard, Loki has the right to rule Jotunheim. At least, at first. Odin, that's the plan. In Odin's mind, Asgard always came first. Loki grieves more than his heart is dead. To prove yourself. He even killed his own father with his own hands. Even at the cost of destroying their original homeland. But still not recognized and loved by Odin. Loki let go of his hands weakly, before falling. But saw Caesar's eyes that suddenly appeared on Bifrost. Suddenly he remembered his agreement with Caesar. Could it be that he expected all this? With boundless doubt and despair, Loki disappeared into the twisted space. Caesar actually didn't expect the Skrulls to attack Thor and others directly. His deal with Loki was an idle move. Some life planets, in Loki's view, may be the shortcut to expand the territory, boost the kingship, and prove himself. But in front of Caesar, who is sitting on a huge interstellar empire. But it is an annual salary that can be offered to others at will. He just expected, anyway, that the giants of Jotunheim had been sneaked into Asgard. And Loki, who secretly brought Lauf, king of giants of Jotunheim, into Odin's bedroom during Odin's sleep. The life of the old Odin, and the safety of Asgard as a whole, has been deeply threatened. After Odin wakes up, with his current temper, Loki will never let Loki stay safe in Asgard again. Either in captivity or in exile. As for captivity, look at him being Caesar's dear brother. Caesar had to let Loki out anyway. Caesar intends to do so. Unexpectedly, things went back to normal. Perhaps, thanks to the Skrulls who were forced to stay on Earth? After all, they should be helping Caesar quite a bit. Caesar watched all this coldly. Loki may be sympathetic, but not endearing. At least Caesar and Loki, or Thor, have no feelings for each other. Odin watched as Loki let go and fell into the void, and seemed to regret it. But after pulling Thor up, he began to look deeply at Caesar and Valkyrie on his 2.2 side. He has long known the power of Caesar. But he never thought that the Valkyrie beside him could also have such a powerful divine power. And, it is the power of familiarity. The power of the god of war. Thor was still in grief. Although I noticed the strange Caesar duo. But with Odin around, he doesn't have the heart to get to know Caesar and Valkyrie right now. Odin tried his best to pull a smile from the corner of his mouth and said to Caesar. Master of the heavenly palace. Ruler of the holy heavenly palace. Caesar, you make me proud. Asgard will always welcome you, this place will always be your home. Home is where there are relatives. 35. Asgard, no. Caesar shook his head, then stared straight at Odin. Great the king of God, I am here to negotiate. Release Hela, drop Midgard. Chapter 66 The Inevitable Battle. Before Thor could understand the situation, with a bang, he saw Odin pull Gungnir hard, and then said angrily to Caesar. Do you know what you're talking about? I definitely know that. 35. Are you really so old that you can't even hear words clearly? 66. The king of God, hey. Caesar directly ignored Gungnir in Odin's hands, smiled coldly, and said mockingly. Caesar. Odin roared, directly dancing Gungnir, and started aiming at Caesar. It was only at this moment that Thor came to understand. It seemed that Odin and the two strangers were not dealing with each other. Thor Momo stood behind Odin and clenched Mjolnir in his hand. Started staring at Caesar and Valina. I said, I'm here to negotiate. 95. Release Hela, drop Midgard. Caesar's words were still cold, with a hint of firmness and determination in the cold. Odin took a deep look at Caesar. But it is difficult to see the weak prince who was once under his gaze, even difficult to stand. The current Caesar is already the ruler of the holy heavenly palace, the ruler of the heavenly palace, and the top-ranked powerhouse in the entire universe. Odin calmed down and withdrew Gungnir, pointing at Caesar. To Caesar calmly, equally, with an attitude that only exists between the two major forces, said to Caesar. Release Hela, impossible. You know, the seal is integrated with my life, and only with my life can Hela be sealed. Unless I die, Hela will never come out. As for giving up Midgard, that's even more impossible. Midgard contains too many secrets. It took countless Asgard's best efforts to protect it. Even if the secret can never be delved into it, he remains Asgard's greatest treasure. 35. Asgard cannot give up the rule of Midgard. Odin said here. His indifferent tone became slightly complicated. He paused and said earnestly. Finally, for whatever reason you want to take Midgard. I just want to persuade you to give up your arrogant ideas. You are not enough now. Caesar listened coldly, until at the end, when he heard Odin's earnest exhortation, his expression changed slightly. That's probably Odin's rare love. Thor is a little confused. Who is Hela? Why is the king of God Odin needed to seal with life? What secrets does Midgard hide? Why is it so important? For the first time, Thor felt really ignorant. Full of doubts, but dare not directly ask Odin and Caesar, who are full of momentum. He had no choice but to wave Mjolnir in his hands anxiously from time to time. It's good to use this to calm down my unspeakable mood. Caesar cast his gaze coldly on Odin. Pale hair and a face full of ravines. The only remaining one eye still retains the only remaining stubbornness. Caesar knows. Odin, really old. I really lost the appearance of coercing everything and shocking all dissatisfaction. I do not believe. Caesar said firmly, word by word. I don't believe that there is no way to let Hela out except you die. Don't push me. As for the mysteries of Midgard, the so-called qualifications, the present you, 39. I am no longer qualified to judge me arbitrarily. 35. Odin. 39. Caesar roared and took a step forward, failing to achieve his goal, as if he would never give up. The situation is getting tense. Mjolnir in Thor's hand also began to shake constantly, and roar made a sound. Valena glanced at Thor, and followed Caesar one step forward, her eyes fixed on Thor. In case of a fight, Thor is her target. She had always wanted to beat up Asgard's royal family. Facing Caesar's persecution, Odin did not back down. The only one eye left, but a rare fierce light burst out. The former Odin is by no means the peaceful and weak appearance of today. Fighting and blood, conquest and plunder are the nature of Odin. That's what civilization looked like at the beginning. Odin also stepped forward, and an unknown electric light began to flash above the tightly gripped Gungnir. Do not believe? Qualifications. Caesar. 66. Odin roars. Come on, beat me, I'll give you everything you want. If you lose, get out of here. After Odin finished speaking, an incomparably huge armor covered with spikes galloped out from the depths of Asgard. With a swoosh, Odin was wrapped tightly inside. Odin's one eye began to glow red through the destroyer armor. The breath on the body is also stronger and stronger. Caesar didn't say anything, just held his left hand slightly, then released it. A blue light began to shine on Caesar's face. As for his right hand, he clenched the void tightly, and slowly drew out a flaming long sword from the void. Although it is only Angel's standard weapon, it can only effectively kill Tier 3 powerhouses. However, the power of the flame sword under the blessing of the power of the sun must not be underestimated. Caesar and Odin looked at each other and said nothing. Bang! Gungnir and the Sword of Flames have already started a fierce collision. Sparks, lightning, and powerful shocks. Let the whole broken Bifrost start to tremble. The water surface under Bifrost even set off a huge wave. Caesar and Odin begin to fight. Thor wasn't idle either, waving Mjolnir. Want to join the battlefield in a hurry. But Valina took out a dragon-tooth sword. Stopped Thor directly. That was Valkyrie's sword of glory. Now, Valina will use this sword. Learn about the feud between the Legion of Valkyrie and the Royal House of Asgard. 2 points on the battlefield. But huge amounts of battle fluctuations awakened countless people in Asgard. Heimdall, Frigga, the 3 Asgard warriors who were healing, and the guards guarding Asgard all rushed towards Bifrost. Odin didn't hold back at all, okay, as the former Heavenly Father. He deeply understands what kind of combat power the Fourth Order Aesir Protoss possess. Moreover, the space gem in Caesar's left hand could not be concealed from Odin, who had collected it. Pricked, stabbed, blocked, wrapped, and circled, Gungnir was directly played out in Odin's hands. In terms of martial arts, Odin, who has fought for countless years, has almost no one opponent in the world. Caesar is no exception. But, to the level of Caesar Odin today, the so-called martial arts has finally become a trail. The strength of energy, the use of energy, and the understanding of the most essential rule in the world. It is the key that determines the victory of the strong in the battle. In terms of martial arts, Caesar is indeed far inferior to Odin, and the flame sword in his hand can only be used to slash left and right. But with the blessing of the power of space, the distance of Odin's attack is enlarged. The flame sword in Caesar's hand can always block Gungnir's attack in time at the most critical moment. The battle between the two is still deadlocked. Chapter 67 Joining Forces. On the other hand, the battle between Thor and Valina began to take a while. Thor himself, but the Third Order strength. Even with the blessing of Mjolnir, it is only close to the standard Tier 4 combat power. However, Valina, after Caesar's years of practice, forced him to absorb the power of the god of war. Valina, who has a standard Tier 4 combat power based on divine power alone, completely suppressed Thor in just a moment. The power of the god of war is by no means weaker than the power of thunder. Valina's body is flexible and keeps turning around Thor. The dragon-tooth sword in his hand either chopped or cut, and left a lot of wounds directly on Thor's divine body. If it wasn't for Valina being influenced by Caesar for many years, she would not be willing to kill her. Thor, already lying in a pool of blood. Thor was shocked and angry, when Valina drew the dragon-tooth sword in her hand. Thor, who has been obsessed with Valkyrie since childhood, threw out that Valkyrie's glorious weapon. During the series of battles, the mark on Valina's arm was also discovered by Thor. It was hard for him to imagine why a Valkyrie will attack the royal family of his name Asgard. Moreover, holding Mjolnir, he is not the opponent of this Valkyrie at all. But at the beginning of the question, Valina did not respond at all. The fierce battle that followed made Thor unable to speak. He must use all his energy to barely resist Valina's attack. The battle between Odin and Caesar continues, and Thor can't fall 320 yet. Thor, who was struggling, suddenly began to smile, and he saw it. Not far away, Heimdall has 3 Asgard warriors and Sif coming. Wearing the destroyer armor and holding Gungnir, Odin, who should have exerted the Fourth Order limit, the strength of the Heavenly Father. There was no quick takedown of Caesar. Instead, he fell into a stalemate with Caesar, and even fell into a vague disadvantage. Odin, you are really old. Tell me why. Why are you so old? Why, your combat power has dropped so much. Caesar swung the flaming sword freely, blocking another attack from Odin. With a jingle, Gungnir and the sword of flame collided again, creating a fierce spark. The gun came to the sword, and it was extremely fast. But Caesar even has room to spare, constantly posing questions to Odin. Aesir Protoss who have successfully advanced to Tier 4 should never have the same lifespan as Odin. Odin's vitality, there is definitely a great problem. Odin began to gasp, his hands moving a little slower. The fierce fighting overwhelmed Odin's aged body. The sword of flame began to continuously draw splendid sparks on the destroyer's armor, bringing a harsh clicking sound. Odin has not been injured, the destroyer armor, ADC, that contains the power of Odin. It is not that the sword of flames in the hands of the current Caesar can be easily broken. Caesar was also uninjured, the use of Space Force always makes for a lot of attacks. It looks like a tiny difference, but it's actually thousands of miles away. The fight continued, but Odin and Caesar vaguely understood. If the stalemate continues, only Caesar will win. Odin's body could no longer fight for a long time. Heimdall and Sif hurried over. The three warriors Sif and Asgard looked at Thor, who was covered in injuries and was constantly being attacked by Valina, without saying a word. He attacked directly, helped Thor, and besieged Valina. As for Heimdall, he just stood there quietly. In fighting between the Aesir gods, he did not want to participate. Besides, he could see that Valina was keeping her hand. He opened his eyes wide, trying to make out the traces of the battle between Odin and Caesar. Whether it is his own king, or his good friend, or the complicated relationship between the two of them. Heimdall never wanted to see their blood spilled here. The addition of Sif and three warriors relieved Thor's pressure. Although the three warriors are not strong enough, they have always cooperated tacitly. As for Sif, it is barely considered a high-end combat power. Thor breathed a sigh of relief, and while joining the four of Sif to continuously attack Valina, he asked again. Valkyrie? Legendary elite warrior Valkyrie? Why fight Asgard with a stranger? Shouldn't Valkyrie be allegiance to the royal family and to Asgard? Valina took the attack of the four with ease and glanced at Heimdall who was standing beside him. And in the distance, the fairy queen Frigga is rushing fast. Said Valkyrie. No, not anymore. From that day on, not anymore. As for strangers, hee. How do you know that I am not serving the royal family? 35. When Valina said this, she smiled faintly, and then said contemptuously. Asgard is too weak now. Caesar is right, if Odin hadn't made a move, I could have settled here by myself. It's time to end this farce. Valina's eyes turned cold, and she used the power of the god of war, and a red light suddenly rose from the dragon-tooth sword. Speed and sharpness have both increased by a few points. Seeing a afterimage dancing, Valina seemed to instantly turn into a 100-armed giant. The dragon-tooth sword in his hand instantly turned into hundreds of swords, and he launched an attack on the four at the same time. The swishing sound constantly increases, with Valina's blistering attacks. It was not just the sound of the wind, but a gust of wind danced directly. The strong wind roared endlessly, but in the midst of the strong wind, there was a clear clanging sound, as well as a crisp clicking sound. The wind stops, the war stops. Although the three Asgard warriors cooperated tacitly, their strength was too low, and their injuries were still unhealed. The weapon in his hand was first cut off by Valina, and another man made a sword. At the moment was lying on the ground, unable to stand again. Valina gave Sif a little bit of a hand, after all, it is Asgard's rare female combat power. It just turned the stab into a slap, knocked down the weapon in Sif's hand, and then slapped it on Sif's neck, causing her to faint directly. As for Thor, Frigga was already approaching. Valina didn't make another heavy hand, but only slashed a few more times on his hands, forcing Thor to let go of Mjolnir in his hand. Give him another kick and kick him out of the fray. Afterwards, he glanced at Mjolnir under his feet, and then looked at Thor who was struggling to get up after falling to the ground, and said contemptuously. Asgard cannot be protected by artifacts. 35. No, the so-called royal family, have they really guarded Asgard? After Valina finished speaking, she threw away the dragon-tooth sword in her hand. Valkyrie's sword of honor? Oh, after all, it is the past. Valina stopped attacking. Just like Heimdall, he began to pay attention to the battle between Odin and Caesar. Frigga had already rushed over, and the first thing he saw was Thor, who was covered in injuries. Thor struggled to stand up, trying to protect Frigga behind him. Valina is too powerful and too dangerous. He didn't want his mother to be in danger. Frigg directly hugged Thor in his arms, and glanced at Valina, who was deliberately avoiding his sight. Start healing Thor directly. Frigga is a powerful magician, with some healing magic, of course. Controlled Thor's injury and rescued Sif and the three warriors. Stopped their stupidity of attacking Valina again. Then, while weeping, he quietly watched the battle between Odin and Caesar in the distance. Frigga was in great pain, but she didn't speak out directly to stop it. They are not just their husbands and children. Still the god-king of the 9 realms, or the ruler of the heavenly palace. The battle between them will never start easily, and it will never end easily. Chapter 68 Meteor Strike. The crowd began to watch. The battle between the top powerhouses in the universe is extremely rare. At least, besides Heimdall and Valina. Thor and the others are already dumbfounded. Dad, is there still such a strong stranger? Who is that stranger? Why are you fighting, Dad? Thor asked directly. Frigga was in tears and painfully replied. That's not a stranger. You should call him brother. 35. His name is Caesar. Thor and Sif and others were completely stunned. Then Thor hurriedly asked. I have a brother. But why is he fighting, Dad? Thor couldn't understand. Perhaps, it's because of your sister. Frigg replied again. Thor was completely stuck in place. Not only did I suddenly have a super strong brother, but this brother was still fighting with my dad. Then the reason for the fight might be for my sister? What? Who I am? Where am I? What happened? Thor and Sif and others were confused, but could not get an answer. Because, the battle between Caesar and Odin is getting more and more intense. In close combat, Odin can no longer support agile attacks due to his aging body. So simply gave up the melee attack. Directly pulled away, and then waved Gungnir, shooting out rainbows and lightnings one after another. Directly attacked Caesar. Caesar smiled. Fighting for consumption, Caesar with the space gem has never lost. Considering the spectators and the entire Asgard, neither Caesar nor Odin used their oversized attacks. Just condensed the energy to the extreme. Then for the most violent collision. The sea set off huge waves, and countless water spots splashed on the people in the heartless hell. The ground began to tremble slightly, even if it was just the aftermath of the collision. It also made the whole Asgard tremble. Asgard's guards have all arrived. But under Frigga's suggestion, he did not join the fray rashly. With the current strength of the Asgard Legion, join the battlefield of the top powerhouses in the universe. It doesn't make any sense except to die. The rainbow energy spewed out by Odin's Gungnir began to fade a little. Not because of Odin's lack of power, but because Bifrost was smashed by Thor. Gungnir in Odin's hands could no longer mobilize the energy of the entire Bifrost. Bifrost is the core treasure of the entire Asgard. If Bifrost is not destroyed, Odin directly triggers Bifrost to attack Caesar. Even with Caesar holding the space gem, the power is endless. It is also difficult to guarantee that it can resist the dual power of Odin and Bifrost. After all, although gem energy is endless, the energy output in a moment is limited. Odin frowned, but a red light flashed across his wrinkled face. The long-lost fierce battle seems to have aroused his former pride. Bifrost is destroyed and has limited energy. In the long run, the aging self will not be a Caesar opponent with the space gem. Odin knew that. Therefore, it was decided to directly block the outcome in the final blow. Odin hesitated for a moment, and finally shouted, "Don't die, Caesar!" When Caesar heard Odin shout, he was immediately alert. I saw Odin's body lifted back, his left hand forward, and Gungnir in his right hand held high and backward. On the gun body of Gungnir, mysterious runes began to emerge. At the same time, it radiated a bright light. Immediately after charging, Odin's right hand slammed forward, and Gungnir instantly let go. Odin's entire body was brought forward as well. Exactly, Odin's strongest attack, Meteor Strike. The hair must be hit, and the middle must be won. Unstoppable, penetrating all things. No! Frigga began to shout as Odin raised his right hand. Then, he began to disregard his own safety. He rushed towards the two of them in a hurry. In her impression, no one could block this blow intact. Even the once mighty flame giant Surti. After this blow, he was taken away from the eternal fire, breaking his right hand and right foot. Until now, it still cannot be recovered. Varina hurried to Caesar when she saw Odin cast out Gungnir. He even wanted to use his body to help Caesar block. But, it's a shooting star. Meteor, meteor. It's too fast to imagine, too strong to describe. Just like a flash of light, only Odin could see Gungnir projecting out. In the next instant, Gungnir seemed to have been inserted into Caesar's chest. Hundreds of hairs and 100 in all, through all things. It seems to have become an ironclad. Gungnir at that moment has become the incarnation of rule. Caesar couldn't see clearly, and he couldn't see the trajectory of Gungnir's attack. Even if he hurriedly used the power of the space gem to extend the space in front of him almost infinitely. But Gungnir directly penetrated countless spaces and came to Caesar. 4 flowers. Space can't stop Gungnir's progress either. But, fortunately, the near-infinite space slightly slowed Gungnir's speed. Hair must be in the middle, through all things. Caesar understands very well, even if he has a fourth-order divine body. It is absolutely impossible to block Gungnir's attack. So, Caesar instantly stretched out his left hand. Spread out your palms and face Gungnir, who runs through everything. Above the palm, a small blue gemstone shone brightly. One is the strongest strike of the God King of the 9 realms, known as a meteor strike that runs through everything. One is the origin of the universe, the space gem of the 6 infinite gems. Who wins and who loses, at this moment, it is revealed sadly. Gungnir's spear point stabbed directly on the space gem. However, no earth-shattering collision occurred. There was no strong light, no impact, not even a crisp ding. Gungnir fell silently, as if at the end of a strong arrow. There was a pop. Then, just lay on the ground. Only infinite gems can destroy infinite gems. The 6 infinite gems, linked, are the power of the origin of the entire universe. Although Odin is strong, he wants to shake the whole universe. That's just delusional. After receiving the meteor strike, Caesar quickly folded his palms and hid the infinite gems directly. The meteor strike was too quick, and Valina, in addition to Heimdall, saw something vaguely. Everyone just saw a flash of light. Caesar evaded with his left hand, and then Gungnir fell to the ground. Seeing all this, everyone was speechless. It seemed that he couldn't believe what was happening in front of him. 100 battles and 100 victories, the strongest blow of the God King of the 9 realms of the Megatron universe was actually blocked by someone? That was a meteor strike. 100 hits, a meteor strikes through everything. Frigga was still stepping forward, but Valina stopped. Caesar blocked. After the shooting star, the outcome was decided. A drop of cold sweat slipped down Caesar's forehead. Odin's meteor strike was too dangerous. The toes poked and tossed at will, and directly grabbed Gungnir in his hand. Then, without pausing, he stepped forward directly. He attacked Odin, who was old and frail, and whose power was greatly depleted after a meteor strike. Gungnir is the weapon of the gods. Even if the divine power does not match with Caesar, it can still enhance the strength of Caesar. Loki was in charge of Gungnir, killing the king of the giants of Jotunheim in a sneak attack. When a divine power is increased, a divine power is not only severely depleted but also weakened. The outcome of the battle, in an instant, is already clear. Chapter 69 The Secret of the Past. Odin slumped to the ground weakly, gasping for breath. The destroyer armor on his body was also tattered, as if it could be disintegrated at any time. Caesar grimaced and pointed Gungnir at Odin's throat. Then, with a complicated expression, he said, "I won. Release Hela, drop Midgard." Caesar managed to win, but there was no joy in his face. Because he knew, if it weren't for Odin's old age and frailty, without the strength of the father, Caesar will not be Odin's opponent. Because she knew, if it weren't for Thor smashing Bifrost, if Odin can't use Gungnir to mobilize the power of Bifrost, he will not be Odin's opponent. Even if it wasn't for Odin's words to remind him when he issued the meteor strike, it is unknown whether he could block the meteor strike with the space gem in time. Odin had been a mountain of despair in his heart. He could only look up constantly, and even could only shiver in front of him. But now, he can knock Odin to the ground. No matter what, he won in the end. The joy of going over the mountains is mixed with the loneliness of no one in front, and there is a wonderful 3-2-3 look. But now, he doesn't care about it. All he wants is, release Hela and take Midgard. Odin gasped for breath, an inexplicable light radiated from his only remaining eye. "My child! You really amaze me. Midgard is yours. Even if you want, Asgard will be ruled by you. As for Hela, kill me, and Hela will naturally get out of trouble. Take care of your mother, and don't let Hela hurt her brother." 35. Speaking of this, Odin calmly closed his only remaining eye, and then he wanted to calmly welcome the arrival of death. Caesar froze for a moment, then shouted, "Enough!" 39. "Don't think I dare not do it. Tell me other ways to release Hela." Odin didn't even open the only one eye left, just said calmly, "There is no other way." 9. Caesar raised Gungnir angrily, and then his right hand was grabbed by Frigga, who hurriedly arrived. Frigga didn't speak, just kept crying. There was pain and helplessness in the eyes that had always been gentle. Caesar looked into Frigga's eyes, concentrated for a moment, and threw Gungnir away. Then, bowing his head to Odin, said, "If it was 1,000 years ago, I won, I probably won't let you go. But now, how many years can you live? I don't want to upset my mother." 99. "So, can you tell me something? For example, why are you getting so old?" 9. "For example, what happened back then?" Odin opened the only remaining eye, and with a wave of his right hand, Gungnir came to Odin's hands. Gungnir's return brought a lot of divine power to Odin, and Odin stood up directly. Gently glanced at Frigga, whose face was full of tears, and then said to Caesar, 1,000 years ago, you couldn't beat me. However, I will tell you everything. This is my price." He retreated Thor and the Asgard guards who were eager to come forward to help. With Caesar and Frigga, we walked to Odin's bedroom. Some secrets are not suitable for too many people to know. The fierce battle appears to be over. Thor, who was relieved, looked at the three people who were far away, and there were too many doubts in his heart. So, he asked Valina directly, "Is he really my brother? Why is he so strong? And, you know, I always liked Valkyries as a kid. Can you tell me why you are so strong? Or are Valkyries so strong? How did they train?" Thor asked long-windedly. Valina directly rolled his eyes at him, and then said, "Your brother Loki just fell into the void." 55. "Your companions were also severely injured. You also destroyed Bifrost. You have no idea what Bifrost means to Asgard. Are you still in the mood to ask me these questions? Thor fell silent for a moment. Loki just lied to him and didn't send someone to kill him. He still has a very deep affection for Loki now. Inside the palace, Odin begins to tell Caesar all the secrets of the past. The entire Nine Realms system, with the exception of Midgard, is Earth. The rest of the worlds are different. It can be said to be the land of myths. There are all kinds of gods, giants, elves, dwarfs living in it. But only Midgard, a small mortal planet. But only Midgard is the most important place in the entire Nine Realms. Whether it's Jotunheim or Asgard, whether it's heaven or hell. Both want to take Midgard as their own. Because since time immemorial, there have been rumors of the Protoss that has continued for a long time. Midgard contains the opportunity to transcend the entire universe. Midgard is the cause of all things and the fruit of all things. It is the origin of everything and the only truth. Back then, Asgard had also gone through countless battles, subdued the Nine Realms, and repelled the major Protoss, before he took control of Midgard in his hands. Asgard paid too much to occupy Midgard. Odin said this with a sad expression, as if recalling the warriors who once sacrificed to occupy Midgard. After a moment of sadness, he said, "We occupied Midgard. But that's when we start digging into the oddities of Midgard. Just got some results. It seems that the souls of the people of Midgard are stronger and more unique than the rest of the aliens. The incomparably powerful celestial clan has descended. 9 gods, only 9 gods. But each of them has at least a strength close to the 4th order limit, that is, close to the Heavenly Father. They accused Asgard of continuing research that could upset the balance of the universe. Asgard must stop research on Midgard immediately. At that time, Asgard was extremely powerful. My brother, Tyr, the god of war, Balder, the god of light, Hodl, the god of darkness, and the former patron saint, Heimdall's father, Rig, each of them is awakening the gods of the 4th order power. Add to that a large and elite army, Bifrost and Hela. Asgard seems unrivaled. When Odin said this, he seemed to recall the past glory, and his one eye was full of yearning. But then, there is endless sadness. We are strong and we are proud. We jumped at it, and then fell flat. The incomparably huge elite army, all dead. My brothers, and Rig, were killed one by those gods. Balder, Hodl, Rig, and Tyr. I even watched my brother Tyr, being torn in half by an incomparably gigantic god, and the half of his corpse was sent into his mouth alive. They also need supplemental energy. Those gods, no, they're not gods, they're just poor worms. I couldn't bear it any longer. I forcibly burned most of my life, waving Gungnir, urging Bifrost with all my strength, and directly cutting off the head of that god. And then directly banished to the void. Next, I had peace talks with the remaining 8 gods. Asgard gave up research on Midgard, and didn't even go to Midgard easily. The Celestials gave up their pursuit of Asgard. Hehe, those poor bastards are even afraid of death. I went back to Asgard alone. Asgard's elite was almost wiped out, except for the Valkyrie who kept his hand, and only the legion led by your sister Hela remained. That battle was too sudden, and she did not participate. She led that legion and attacked other civilizations, as if she wanted to grab a treasure for you. When she came back, she knew about the battle. Then, she wanted to continue to fight. I want to rule the countless civilizations in 2.2 by conquering the endless starry sky, and after gaining enormous power, take revenge against the gods. I stopped her. Asgard's remaining power is no longer enough to conquer the entire universe. Forcibly start the battle. Just kill all Asgards. But your sister is too stubborn. She thought I was cowardly and I backed off. She didn't think I deserved to be king anymore, so she challenged me. I defeated her and planned to imprison her. Prevent her from starting the war again, bringing Asgard to destruction. Then she defected, and I was too wounded to pursue. Had to send the Valkyrie Corps, but the Valkyrie Corps was also destroyed. That was Asgard's last elite. I endured serious injuries and forcibly stopped her. Then, with his own life, he turned into the strongest cage. Imprisoned her in hell. From now on, if I don't die, Hela will not. When Odin said this, he sighed. But Caesar raised a question. So, why not just let Hela go? Chapter 70 Weapons and Faith. Because, Hela, is my chosen heir. She possesses the power of the entire Asgard. That power cannot be lost in the outside world, even in death. 35. You can only die in the 9 realms. The power of Asgard cannot be lost. This is the basis on which the entire Asgard is maintained in the depths of the universe. 35. Odin said decisively. Caesar was also somewhat silent. He had wanted to ask why Odin said the gods were a bunch of pitiful creatures. After thinking about it, I lost interest again. As for Earth's secrets, now, he does not want to conduct in-depth research. At least, before his strength far surpassed that group of gods. Caesar didn't want to die. And after gathering 6 infinite gems. God, what is it? All he wants now is, meet Hela. The inability to release Hela does not mean that communication with Hela is impossible. With Odin's help, Caesar discreetly separated a consciousness into hell. As for real entry, he didn't have that much trust in Odin yet. Hell, endless hell. Caesar thought that the hell where Hela was held would be like the hell in 03 in the video. Full of lava, demons, and poisonous gas. But did not expect. The so-called hell where Hela is imprisoned is, in some cases, just an infinite void. There is boundless darkness and dead silence. Here, time and space seem to have lost their meaning. Roar shouted loudly from Caesar, but couldn't get a response for a long time. Had to turn around, but suddenly found. Hela, who had loose hair, was behind him, staring at him. Hela stretched out her hands and groped Caesar's face. Then he said in surprise and indignation. Is it really you? Caesar. Did you even get locked in by Odin? Why did he do that? Why did he do that? Hela growled angrily. The entire hell space also began to tremble. You can't keep me, Odin. 35. One day, I will rule Asgard, I will conquer the whole universe. Then, begin glorious revenge. Hela roared up to the sky. The long-term imprisonment, not only did not kill Hela's fighting spirit, but made Hela's fighting spirit more and more exciting. Caesar was very sad and wanted to go out and kill Odin and release Hela. But in the end he sighed. Then, he gave Hela a warm embrace. He is God and Hela is God too. God should view time with God's scale. It's been a few years, for him and Hela. But momentarily. Soon, soon. He couldn't make his mother hate him and Hela for a lifetime because of such a short time. Caesar and Hela talked for a long time. Including his current strength, Odin's remaining lifespan, and why he didn't kill Odin and let Hela out immediately. Hela listened to him quietly, and silently gave him the greatest support. Then Hela started talking about the gift she had prepared for Caesar. It was a secret treasure of the Kerry Empire, possessing the powerful power to turn belief into energy. Hela felt that even Caesar failed to awakening divine power. But if you have a strong belief, you can also play a good strength. Unfortunately, that battle was unsuccessful. Hela's strength at that time was not enough to overwhelm the entire Kerry Empire. But now, that gift. No need anymore. Because Caesar has become strong enough. After some reminiscence, Caesar's consciousness was finally on the verge of dissipating. Caesar, who made an appointment and met again soon after, was a dazzling god. Consciousness returned to Odin's bedroom again. Glancing at Odin deeply. After a short rest in Asgard, after some discussions with Odin and Frigga, Caesar left Asgard directly. When Caesar was gone, Thor had wanted Caesar to take him back to Earth, to meet his dream lover, Jane. But under Caesar's cold eyes, he backed away embarrassedly. Then, in Heimdall told Thor some things about Jane, and some of Jane's current thoughts on Thor afterward. Thor reluctantly gave up his love for Jane temporarily. Because, Heimdall, there is no reason to lie to him. Definitely, even if Jane didn't change her mind about Thor, Caesar wouldn't take Thor back to Earth either. Asgard is not peaceful at all. The destruction of Bifrost represented Asgard's massive response to the 9 realms that could no longer be timely. Odin was defeated in front of everyone's eyes, and the news that even the meteor was taken by others spread throughout the 9 realms. The dark tide of the 9 realms can no longer be suppressed. There were rebellions. Odin has kept the peace for far too long in order to preserve the remaining power of the developing Asgard. As long as some races have forgotten the power of Asgard. Bifrost was smashed by Thor, and the disaster was caused by Thor. Naturally, Thor needs to personally settle the war. Odin didn't want to shoot, except to preserve his strength. It is also his idea to let Thor accumulate prestige and military exploits. At least, after Hela returns. Thor's supporters, there will be more. Odin thought helplessly. As for Caesar, after leaving Asgard, head straight to the land of Dwarf Nidavi. After the battle with Odin, Caesar made a profound discovery. Sometimes, a powerful artifact can indeed increase a lot of combat power. And, before long, the power gem and the reality gem will appear one after another. He also needs a weapon that can carry the power of many gems at the same time, to use the power of these gems at the same time. Because even the 4th order Aesir Protoss, or the incomparably powerful Titans, only the flesh can control the power of one infinite gems at the same time. Forcibly controlling more infinite gems will only cause the powerful body to collapse directly. Dwarf, say dwarf. But in fact, each of them is a giant several meters high. It is only because the hands are short and the legs are short, and the whole person is like a squat column, it is called a dwarf. The dwarf are the most adept at blacksmithing. Mjolnir, Gungnir, and the future Stormbreaker. And the Infinity Gauntlet, both forged by dwarf. The dwarf king Ikwe recognized Caesar. There is no intention of rejecting Caesar's idea of forging artifacts. He is well aware of Caesar's identity and strength. Caesar and the dwarf king Ikwe talked for a while, and agreed on some details of forging the artifact. Then I planned to take the entire Nidavi, including the star ring neutron star, to a safe place, and let these dwarfs concentrate on forging for Caesar, just to avoid Thanos' future attack. But the stubborn dwarf king rejected Caesar's plans. He knew that Caesar had beaten Odin, but he also knew that Caesar is the son of Odin, the son of Frigga. Nidavi's rule now belongs to Asgard. Caesar nodded noncommittally, not moving Nidavi away now. If Thanos came, Caesar could just prepare a big gift for him. At that time, it would not be too late to take Nidavi away. After Nidavi made some preparations, Caesar got up directly and flew to the earth. Since the dominion of the earth is in the hands of Caesar, then the first step. It is the belief that monopolizes the whole earth. Chapter 71, The Maximum Utility of PIM Particles. Caesar led Valena back to Earth. There is no rush to find a way to destroy the belief in the original God. Although beliefs about God are currently the bulk of the entire planet. Once successfully captured, the reincarnation pool can also quickly absorb and transform. But it is also the most difficult to usurp. The old gods are immortal, and the new gods cannot stand. The old covenant is not destroyed, and the new covenant is uncertain. The first step is definitely to pick up soft persimmons and pinch them. Africa, Wakanda. This seemingly poor and backward country is actually the richest and most technologically advanced country on Earth. They possess rare metals that are considered precious in the entire universe. Vibranium. Countless years ago, a huge amount of vibranium meteorite fell from the sky and landed directly on the land of Africa. After that, relying on vibranium, a country named Wakanda was established directly. At the price, 1 gram of vibranium is enough to sell for $10,000. And how much of Wakanda's vibranium, no one knows. Caesar didn't want to know either, he just knew. After he came to Wakanda, all vibranium will be nationalized. The earth is legally mine, and if something is buried in the earth, how can it be yours? If you want to forge your own artifact, some rare metals are indispensable. Ulu Kobolko asked Odin for some friendly support, but it was not enough, so Caesar chose Wakanda for the first stop. A team of angels, a team of predators, old-fashioned routines. Useful results. The marauders came in battleships and fighters that were the best in the universe. The simplest round of shelling directly destroyed Wakanda's energy shield. Afterwards, the fighter planes began to fly constantly, and at the same time, they continued to send specialized excavation machines to the ground. As for the revolt of the Wakanda, you can't count on some escorts who like to fight with cold weapons and kill those heavily armed cosmic elite raiders. The most developed country on Earth is also one of the most primitive countries. It's really hard to imagine. Black Panther is a little tougher. The vibranium armor that covers the whole body is really difficult to kill. Sound absorption, energy absorption. Incredibly sturdy. Normal attacks are completely ineffective against him. But a giant leader among the predators stood up directly. Huge body, strong physique, coupled with the top battle armor in the universe. No weapons needed, just a hard grab. The excellent energy absorption effect prevented the giant from directly killing it. However, the giant went straight to a pool later. After throwing the Black Panther in with armor, a farts it up. Vibranium armor does have many great functions. But Black Panther was originally just a little guy close to level 1. He needs roar, he needs oxygen. And vibranium wouldn't offer him that. Roar's blisters popped out. Black Panther couldn't hold on anymore, and he started to attack the armor on his head with force. But the giant's armor was too heavy. The skin of a giant is also hard enough. Finally, in a time of crisis, the gods of the Wakanda people's beliefs began to appear. Those are some of the most primitive animal deities. Black panther, white gorilla, crocodile, lion, and hyena. Huge body, agile movements, and the divine power that Wakanda people worship all year round. Let these primitive animal gods have excellent combat power. However, that's only for predators. Caesar was above the void, watching everything coldly. Until those primordial gods appeared. Caesar waved his hand and did not use the golden flame of the sun to directly burn those primitive gods to ashes. Instead, he took some javelins. Directly from above the void, the primitive gods were named one by one. The javelin was thrown, a blue aperture appeared, and then the javelin disappeared instantly. Appearing again, he has smashed those primitive gods to the ground. The Black Panther and the White Gorilla used 2 more Caesar javelins. The rest, but one shot at a time. Caesar did not directly kill those primitive gods, but fixed them on the ground with serious injuries. Let them cry in despair. Until death. There are definitely some diehards who are not afraid of the marauders who guard the primitive animal gods. I intend to use my life to help those gods out of trouble. For such a devout believer, predator elites help them free in advance without hesitation. Those gods will naturally follow. It's hard to destroy a belief. Destroying a belief is also easy. The gods they believe in will be humiliated and killed in front of them, and then the most devout believers will be killed. This kind of belief has gone most of the time. In the earth, the rumbling sound continued to sound. Large chunks of vibranium were shipped directly to the spaceship. Until the last piece of vibranium disappeared. The elite raiders didn't stop there, and even planned to destroy Wakanda with one shot. Just then, Angel, came. Definitely, that was after those primordial gods were all dead. Falling flowers and flowing water, spluttering. Then decisively dropped some of the corpses of real predators that had been prepared. The angels successfully rescued Wakanda, who was at a critical juncture. The king died, the gods died, the devout believers died, a large number of technological facilities were destroyed, and the vibranium, which survived and became rich, disappeared. All the inhabitants of Wakanda fell into deep despair and confusion. Especially when they were still especially traditional in the era of farming and hunting. Without enough food, all people will die. Angels, it's real angel. It brought a miracle. In the follow-up, Caesar didn't care too much, and those angels were already familiar with this model. He just took that batch of vibranium and thought about it. There is no direct way to Wakanda. Instead, he found someone he almost ignored. Hank Pym. Hank Pym, the same generation as Stark's father, is a little older. Except for the Pym particle, there is no particularly commendable invention. On top of that, the so-called Ant-Man suits really work in battle. It really doesn't make much sense. Because, while objects can be scaled down and enlarged, that is achieved by changing the spacing of the object's atoms. That is, whether you're getting bigger or smaller. Originally the same quality. After getting smaller, entering some bodies that are not strong enough, suddenly getting bigger may have good lethality. But after getting bigger, under the condition of constant quality. If it is too large, it may be no different from a balloon. Most importantly, if it becomes small enough, likely to fall into the quantum world, cannot return at all. And if, well, Zhao, is not small enough, it is impossible to hide from the perception of some strong people. Even if you can hide it. The skin of a strong person inside and outside the body is really the same thickness and firmness, which is really a bit tasteless. But when Caesar learned that the Pym particle can change not only the file size of some human animals, but even some files such as houses and cars, he became interested in Pym particles. If the vibranium is reduced as much as possible, then the vibranium with the same quality after the reduction is used for forging. If such a weapon is successfully forged, what kind of power will it have? Also, if you will be some extremely fine, difficult to send or even manufacture parts. Scale them up, grind them down, and scale them down again. Then, this will undoubtedly greatly enhance the construction rate of some scientific research equipment. This ability, used in battle, may not be enough. But for scientific research, it is the top of the universe. Caesar admits that he underestimated Hank Pym. But it just so happens that the scientific research team under Caesar needs such talents. Chapter 72 Public Execution. Hank Pym is no better than Tony Stark. His older body limited his developmental potential. And, the most needed Pym particle is not difficult to replicate. Some of his former assistants can even copy it. What matters is just that formula. Definitely, Caesar would naturally be very happy to gain a top scientist in the universe. The old rules, the first lure. But Hank Pym became more stubborn as he got older. For so-called peace, in order not to use Pym particles for war, he can even hide for decades. However, all of this is when Caesar takes Hank Pym and his daughter to space. Let them look at the sun after blinking. All problems are solved. In particular, Caesar can also provide Hank Pym with a top-notch laboratory. Help him open the quantum channel as soon as possible and save his lover. Everything went smoothly. However, that's when Caesar tried to make vibranium small enough with Pym particles. Accident happened. The distance between atoms is not infinite, the closer the atoms are, its repulsion and attraction are stronger. This is the most fundamental law of the universe. Can't be changed at all. That is, either, something cannot be made small enough, or something becomes smaller and cannot be recovered. However, the difference in its 327 is enough to help Caesar solve most of the problems. After all, not all metals are cherished treasures in the universe. Vibranium probably won't be able to shrink again after shrinking nearly 100 times. At the same time, it can no longer be restored. Caesar used some strength and carried some reduced vibranium, brought them to Nidavi, and brought some PIM particles directly there. In addition to vibranium, some other metals may also use PIM particles. How ecstatic the dwarfs are and how painstakingly figuring out how to smelt that metal. Caesar doesn't care. Professional things are left to professional things to do. This is one of Caesar's principles. He just went back to Earth and started looking for traces of those angels and demons. Oh, almost forgot, the Hell Lord Mephistopheles and those ghost riders who burn people's souls at every turn. Also Caesar's target. At least they should understand that the Earth has changed its owner. The rules have also changed. All the faiths of the Earth, all the souls, will be Caesar's precious assets. It cannot be taken away by the gods of other dimensions. According to the agreement between the Ancient One and Odin and other gods, neither heaven nor hell can enter the earth at will. But there are always some angels and demons, parasitic in the human world. Temptation seduces the faith and soul of man. Caesar definitely kills one if he finds one. As for the revenge of heaven and hell? Sorry, I have to break through the protection of the Ancient One beforehand. Let's talk about it. I have to say that Sorcerer Supreme has been passed down from generation to generation, and the dimensional defense line established is quite useful. After Caesar once again crushed a demon possessed by a human. In Los Angeles, he discovers a strange human being, and a powerful angel who is lurking. That human, called Constantine, a famous exorcist. Because he grew up with a pair of eyes that could see angel and demons. Simply put, souls are very rare. Rare to the extent that heaven and hell aspire to his soul. And the name Constantine, because of some of his codes of conduct, referred to as scum. According to the agreement of heaven and hell, such souls will go to hell. And calculate with a rare soul like Constantine. This soul will be worthy of Satan coming to receive him personally. Caesar has not yet delved into the mysteries of the earth, and does not yet know the mysteries of these souls. But how can the precious soul on his own territory be taken away by heaven and demons at will? And, about that mighty angel lurking on earth. Caesar remembered a story he had seen. To the effect, in order to better spread the faith, Angel Gabriel decided to cooperate with Satan's son Mammon, and let Mammon come to the world in the form of reincarnation. Because it is a normal human-born baby, Mammon will have powerful magic power and will not be bound by the oath. Then, when he is born, he will be able to bypass the circle and open the gates of hell. Turn the earth into hell. And Mammon will be in the process of opening the gates of hell and turning the earth into hell, at sea. Obtained a powerful magic power, even surpassing his father, Satan. And Gabriel will begin to perform miracles on the crisis-ridden earth. To further promote angels' faith. In general, it is the story of a young boy who plans to become bigger and stronger, conspiracy and rebellion, and an angel who does not take human life as human life, but just wants to gain faith. Plan pass. Hell and demons have appeared, and the first choice of mortals is definitely to worship angel. Without the horror of demons, how can the greatness of angel be brought out? If it weren't for these years, Ancient One's management was too strict, and technology was gradually developed. People believe in money more than they believe in angel. Gabriel actually doesn't want to come to Earth to do this wave of things. Because he deeply understands the horror of Sorcerer Supreme and the power of Odin. If it wasn't for the news that I heard recently, Odin was really old, and the meteor was blocked by someone. Gabriel wouldn't really just implement his plan. Because once the matter is exposed, it must be him who is to blame. It is normal to remove the wings and destroy the divine power. Caesar followed Gabriel quietly while hiding his figure. It's actually very simple to build a new belief, just destroy the old one. Caesar intends to give Gabriel a public execution. The old god is dead, and a new god shall stand. From time to time, Caesar shot to help Gabriel cover some hands and feet. Gabriel's plan went very well. The complicated magic circle was successfully laid out, and the spear of Longinus, the mysterious oath object, was easily obtained. Even the magicians of Camartage, who were wandering around and watching, failed to discover Gabriel and Mammon's plans. Everything seems to be under control. Gabriel was secretly proud. But I don't know if Caesar secretly ran away the magicians of Camartage. Sorcerer Supreme is already counting feathers on Gabriel's wings. The ceremony began, just as Gabriel flapped his grey wings and planned to cut open the pregnant woman's belly so that Mammon could be born smoothly. In order to save the world, Constantine plans to commit suicide and uses her soul to attract Satan. Then, let Satan discover the plan of this 250 boy Man Meng. Directly push Man Meng, the second or fifth boy, back to hell to end this catastrophe. It's just that he may have forgotten that this Satan has a nickname. It's called Lucifer. He, once, was also an angel. Caesar didn't care if Satan would come and take Manman away, because he just snapped his fingers and knocked Constantine unconscious. It's good to keep such a precious soul for yourself. Besides, if the gate of hell does not open, how can Caesar obtain the coordinates of hell? How to make the impact of this matter big enough? The gates of hell are open. And Gabriel's butcher's knife was raised long ago. It was broadcast by Caesar into the sky of Los Angeles. You know, the sky vision that Mammon brought before his arrival. There's also a slew of media that Caesar surreptitiously influences, Temptation. It's live streaming to Los Angeles. Paparazzi, for the sake of fame and fortune, they are never afraid of danger. Chapter 73 God is dead. How is this possible? Did God abandon the world? Lord, your pious lamb needs your deliverance. 35. Is this the trumpet of the end? Impossible, impossible, impossible. How could Gabriel join forces with the devil? Has he fallen too? God, please open your eyes and look at the world. Some devout believers watched the image of Gabriel colluding with Manman and wanting to open the gate of hell and began to cry. And some paparazzi who serve for money and fame and fortune are still reporting objectively. It can be seen from the video that Angel Gabriel is colluding with the devil, trying to bring hell to the world. But is he really Gabriel? Or what was Gabriel's purpose in doing this? 99. What will happen to Los Angeles after the gates of hell open? What's the secret behind all this? Is all this a distortion of human nature or the fall of heaven? The Los Angeles Times will always be at the forefront to provide you with first-hand coverage. 99. Some of America's mainstream media continues to broadcast it all without fear. I don't know if it was for fame and fortune, or it was secretly affected. The camera stubbornly faced the gate of hell and the hidden angel. Ho ho ho. An extremely ferocious devil head emerged from the gate of hell first. First the head, then the body and claws, and finally, the devil's hoof, and the tail dripping with flames. The devil looked at the earth, raised his head and roared, and slapped his chest with both hands. It's as if you've come to a dream place. Then, there is unbridled killing and destruction. Huge amounts of demons were just the beginning, and after the demons, countless monsters rushed out. The three-headed dog of hell began to run wildly, with three huge mouths interlaced with teeth, spitting flames recklessly during the run. Death knights, nightmares, skeletons, giants, ghosts, all the monsters that can be imagined are striving towards the earth. It's like in hell, there are some more terrifying beings chasing them and forcing them. They started killing and destroying like crazy. On the other hand, Manman and Gabriel stood coldly above the tall building, watching all this calmly. Manmeng's body grew rapidly from a baby, and soon, he became an extremely handsome man with an evil spirit. He was constantly intoxicated by Roar's inhalation, as if some inexplicable substance in the air was constantly pouring into his body. That is the soul of all those who died in this disaster. And every decedent's soul will make Manmeng stronger. At the same time, the terrain around Manmeng also underwent drastic changes. A scorching aura full of death continued to emanate from Mammon, and it continued to expand the scope of its influence. All vitality disappeared without a trace after this breath. Green is disappearing, replaced by barren land. Manmen will turn the world into a second hell. Gabriel frowned and took a few steps away from Mammon. The breath on Manmeng's body made him feel unpleasant. But looking at the believers who prayed frantically after the appearance of the devil in hell, smiles gradually spread on their faces. Sure enough, without the existence of demons, those mortals must not be pious in their belief in angel. But what do those planes that are still circling, and those reporters who dare to point some guns and short cannons at him and Mammon? Is he exposed? Gabriel hurriedly changed his wings to a different color. As a high-level angel, it's just a matter of changing the color of the wings. How easy it is. Well, black wings fallen angel, with the son of Satan. Perfect. I'm just an ordinary fallen angel. Who dares to call me Gabriel? However, the movement has become like this. Why hasn't Sorcerer Supreme come to quietly control those demons? Those demons show their faces in the world, and it's okay to kill some people and scare people. Really want to turn the world into hell? Gabriel was the first to refuse. At least half of it must be reserved for heaven. Gabriel quietly moved a few steps away from the son of hell, Mammon. And Caesar, just persuaded Sorcerer Supreme to go back. After walking around in hell again, I found that this hell is not the same as the hell where Hela was imprisoned. That is, it is impossible to release Hela from this hell. Slightly disappointed. However, while walking around in hell, Caesar discovered some secrets about hell and heaven. That is, heaven and hell are not real worlds. It is a small dimension that was born relying on the earth and relying on human beings. Man came first, and then God came. After Caesar killed a big demon who barely reached the 4th rank, he got another news. The original Satan and God are all dead. One of them turned into a furnace of hell, and the other became a flame of heaven. Caesar looked at the furnace of hell in front of him, and countless souls wailed in it. Some of them were burned to the ground and turned into energy to maintain the entire hell. Some are in the wailing, constantly powerful, and finally jumped out and turned into various monsters. But it seems that the energy of the whole hell is starting to be depleted, and fewer monsters can jump out. Even some lords of hell often make severe punishments. Then, all the demons who made mistakes were crippled and thrown into the furnace. Use them to maintain the energy of hell. Hell, it will end sooner or later. Heaven should be no exception. Caesar nodded thoughtfully, and then fished out the hell furnace. Pack it directly to take away. The reception and application of the earth soul. Caesar was very interested. He always felt that the reincarnation pond might be able to gain something from the way heaven and hell use the soul. As for the several powerful demon lords who rushed to guard the furnace of hell in the breath induction. 0. Ask for flowers. Caesar said that without the space gem, the slag that can't even break through the Ancient One defense line, how can he catch up with me? I lit up the sun, made hell feel a rare warmth, and burned a lot of demons to death. Caesar snapped his fingers and came to the sky over Los Angeles again. Then, the blue door of light opened. The complete angel First Legion, under the leadership of the heavenly Blade King Sacred Keisha. It's coming. The earth will usher in a new master. Caesar concealed his figure and nodded to Keisha. Not much to say. Everything is in the plan. When Keisha came, countless cameras were aimed there either intentionally or unintentionally. Holy and noble, beautiful and powerful, the angels waved the flaming swords in their hands. Kill all the demons with ease. Later, with the secret assistance of Caesar, he used the power of the space gem to easily close the gate of hell. As for Mammon, who was born in the world, when Keisha came, he glanced at Gabriel in horror. Point 0. Running away without hesitation. The world is so beautiful, he doesn't want to go back to hell at all, or be killed by those angels who seem to be very strong. But Manmeng's escape was decisive, in front of Valina, who had been prepared for a long time. Still unable to escape successfully, he was beaten with a bruised face and was captured. The newly born son of Hell has the same strength. Less than tier 4. Those Skrulls were ruthless and sent a few haters over, and they were able to clean them up. Then, it started in front of all human beings. Judge Gabriel. Gabriel definitely understood that those angels were not his own. He hurriedly flapped his black wings and wanted to leave. However, only by reducing his strength can he sneak past the Ancient One's line of defense and descend to the world's Gabriel. No matter how it is in the universe, it is already considered to be the opponent of the powerful Holy Keisha. Holy Keisha's strength has been improved again in the endless battle. Today, it has the strength of the 4th order intermediate. Going a little further, ability is pressed to high wisdom. Heaven also sensed something was wrong when Keisha came, and wanted to forcibly take Gabriel away to destroy everything. The Ancient One still did not appear. Caesar also let the gates of heaven open. But when a hand was stretched out from the gate of heaven and wanted to take Gabriel away, Caesar directly used the power of the space gem to close the door of space. Cut off that hand, and at the same time, harvest the coordinates of heaven. Playing with space usage? Caesar with the space gem in hand is no one in the universe. Heaven's hand is still out of reach. The so-called heaven is just a small dimension. In terms of strength, heaven and hell combined are not necessarily the opponents of Ancient One. Not to mention Caesar. He restored Gabriel's wings back to white and bet it directly in front of Keisha. Then the first sentence of the Holy Keisha, in the whole world, set off a big wave. God is dead. Knife. Chapter 74. Nobody can save you. The fallen angel has taken over his kingdom. They put on the disguise of angel, but they have the heart of a devil. They said, the world is in trouble. They're going to turn the world into hell and make angel be with the devil. But, the new Lord, at this moment, has come. We are the new angel. 35. We walk on the earth as we walk in his kingdom. 35. We are here to spread the gospel of the new Lord. A new Lord who will end all hell and drive out all those fallen creatures. The fallen creature must die. 46. A high-ranking angel who was accustomed to spreading beliefs chanted loudly without embarrassment, and then, waving a flaming sword, cut off Gabriel's head in front of countless people. The new Lord has come. He said that the old covenant is long gone, and the new covenant cannot be bound. He will sign a new oath with everyone. From now on, all those who sign the contract will be blessed. They will be protected from all evil attacks of 333, and the new Lord will surely welcome all of them into a new paradise. The angel who preached the faith sang loudly in front of the crowd. There is a belief in a new God and the so-called new covenant of God and man. Keisha was on the side, using the power of light to cover her face, watching all this coldly. She is more used to fighting. Caesar popped out a golden flame of the sun, burned the amputated arm, and then watched the high-ranking angel sing loudly there with a slight embarrassment. That brand new divine covenant was also made overnight by those high-level angels who were used to spreading their beliefs after scanning the earth's religious books. It's not necessarily holy, and it's not necessarily an oath. But to inherit the beliefs of the old angels, there is no way to do it. Just like the old and new covenants. God, take turns doing it, to my house this year. No problem. The sturdy figure with eyes full of pain, the Pope finally glanced at the statue of the former angel and the Holy Father. Then, a very rational arrangement was made to take them all away. Or break it, or give it to others for collection. As for the inside of the church, the image of the new master must be added. The Pope naturally believes in God and angels very devoutly. But just God, just angel. Who is God and who is angel, he pays the most devout faith to it. Angels cruise the whole earth, constantly swaying huge energy. Bring a new round of miracles to the whole world. Regeneration of severed limbs, blindness. Even the earth that had been polluted by hell breath was restored to life again under the infusion of a large amount of energy. Definitely, it's just impossible to completely erase the faith of the old master. But without heaven, without angel, without miracles, how long can such a belief last? But lingering. Time will slowly wipe them away. Those new believers will also spontaneously expel those heretics. After all, God is dead. Not to die, but also to die. Tony Stark saw it all on TV. Before he arrived in Los Angeles, the beautiful angels had dealt with the attacking demons. Then, he killed Gabriel, which, incidentally, struck the existing belief in God. My God, what the hell is going on in this world? Gods, aliens, demons, and angels have all come out. What will this earth be like in the future? J.A.R.V.I.S. Do you think I can develop anti-God armor? Oh, almost forgot, God might really be dead. Tony Stark complained helplessly, he is not a believer. He was only deeply beginning to worry about the future of the planet. The gates of hell in Los Angeles were only open for a short period of time. But during that time, thousands of people died. And some strange America executives are getting together. They've just withdrawn to launch a nuke to destroy the gates of hell, and by the way ruin the Los Angeles plan. When something happens, America's executives always choose nuclear bombs to wash the ground. As for how many ordinary people died and how many cities were destroyed, America's executives don't care. The appearance of heaven and hell has surprised those high-level officials, and every demon has a powerful combat power. The sudden appearance of the mysterious angel directly shocked them. Destructive battle. Strong and athletic physique. Make them more confident. They are on the right and strong path. To hell with the warships. The power of powerful individuals is the key to truly ruling the universe. But whether it's heaven or hell, and those Asirs, Earth doesn't seem simple. Those high-level American leaders who were disguised by the Skrulls exchanged glances and decided in the next time. Be sure to do your own hidden work. At the same time, I decided to agree to that partner's plan from now on. Push them to the front. Anyway, by the end, all the Avengers will be under their control. Then, a large number of agents are dispatched directly. Start collecting the flesh and blood of dead demons. Those are all babies. As for Angel, who is cruising the earth, spreading beliefs, swarms, and extremely powerful. The greedy Skrulls forcibly controlled their greed. With the strength that the Skrulls now secretly control, there is simply no way to quietly take down any team. And directly against the angel of an entire legion? The Skrulls say they don't want to die at all. They have seen the power of Carol to destroy the entire elite fleet of the Kerry Empire with one person. In the Heaven dimension, Caesar led the Angel Legion and Valena without any cover-up and attacked directly. Heaven is no better than hell, and a large amount of belief energy maintains the normal operation of heaven. Makes heavenly flames unnecessary to burn a large number of followers or angels' souls to generate huge amounts of energy. That is, the number of angels in heaven. In fact, there are more demons than hell. But, if quantity can decide everything, it should be ants, not humans, who rule the world. Angels born from ordinary human souls do not even have the strength of level 1. The famous Earth-famous Uriel, Raphael, and other Chi angels are just standard 4th-order strengths. Definitely, this force is already extremely strong. But after Caesar mobilized all the angel legions to fight, the former angels, their wings were broken. The current god of heaven, the former deputy king of the kingdom of heaven, Michael, and Caesar are confronting. Michael's strength far surpassed those of the angel elders who used to be side by side with him, possessing a 4th-order high-level strength. But he alone is far from enough. Next to Michael was a demon king in white clothes, but with a pair of huge black wings, Lucifer. Working with him against Caesar. Okay, let me just say, they all use human souls as nourishment. What is the difference between high and low, heaven and hell? 35. Sure enough, after Satan died, Lucifer successfully stole the power of hell. 35. Caesar cocked his left leg and sat on the throne of the heavenly palace, looking down at Michael and Lucifer, who were full of nervousness. Around the Tiangong throne, countless angels were fighting each other. 2.2 Every moment, countless angels fall. Why didn't you bring the demon army? Is it because those demon lords haven't fully obeyed your rule? Caesar turned his head sideways and asked Lucifer casually. Lucifer didn't answer, looked around at the large number of angels who were dying, and then looked at the incomparably powerful angel Three Kings and Valena. He and Michael looked at each other and nodded solemnly. Then, the two began to integrate rapidly. A powerful breath began to emerge slowly. However, a gap composed of endless space, blocked the integration of the two. Caesar stood up, his left hand flashed blue light, and said contemptuously, "Do you think I'll just watch you fit together successfully? Sorry, I don't want to die. So, please die." 35. Today, not only God is going to die, but Satan can't live. No one can save you, I said. Chapter 75 Connection. Seeing that Caesar was on guard and integrate was hopeless, Lucifer, who had arrived in a hurry, spread his wings. To escape from heaven. To be able to come and help Michael, he also intends to join forces with each other to fight against Caesar and regain the furnace of hell. Can't beat it now. Definitely save your life first. As for Michael, let him die. Lucifer is now, but Satan. But no matter how fast you spread your wings, how fast can you pass the power of space? Caesar raised his left hand slightly, and a blue light circle wrapped Lucifer tightly. Lucifer's speed dropped immediately. I said that. Today, you all have to die. Caesar said softly to Lucifer and Michael. Then, the left hand uses the power of the space gem to temporarily trap Lucifer. The right hand gathered the power of the sun and attacked Michael directly. The power of the blazing sun. Michael was shocked by roar, and then, he pulled out a huge amount of cross sword. The cross sword was covered with white flames. Angel's brilliance is enough to overshadow the sun. Heaven's fire. Fist and sword collide with each other. The white fire of heaven burned directly through Caesar's body. Caesar glanced at the fire of heaven on him. Take a breath. Directly blow away the fire of heaven on the body. That's it, you dare to stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. 9. Caesar shook his head and smiled contemptuously. Then countless golden flames fell from the sky, directly covering 03 Caesar's body. Without further ado, Caesar, who was protecting his body with golden flames, attacked Michael again. Michael responded with concentration, but gradually lost his strength under Caesar's fierce attack. He is not the original god after all. Lucifer, for heaven and hell, come and save me. 99. Michael, who was in crisis, shouted roar to save him. Some weak heaven angels also hurried forward to rescue. But before they could touch Caesar, they were directly burned to ashes by the golden flames on Caesar's body. Lucifer naturally heard Michael's roar shout, but he was screaming secretly because of the power of the space gem. Then let him get rid of the boundless space constraints first. Help me first and save me. Lucifer also started roar rescue towards Michael. Although the space restraint is difficult to cause damage to him. But waiting for Michael and Angel to die after the light, waiting for Lucifer is definitely not a good thing. And after breaking free from Caesar's shackles, what will Lucifer do? Definitely trying to find a way to run away. The forge of hell has fallen into Caesar's hands. Hell is about to end. But so what? The Ragnarok of the gods cannot be resisted after all. Even the original Satan and God figured out how to keep heaven and hell going. But in the end, heaven and hell will inevitably die. Everything is already doomed. Escape early. Lucifer and some powerful demon lords could survive for a while. Directly and desperately with Caesar now, I'm afraid I really won't live tomorrow. Lucifer is not that noble. Michael glanced at Lucifer, who was trapped, and took Caesar a blow. There was a scorched black fist mark on his body, but it successfully broke the spatial restraint of Lucifer. Lucifer got out of trouble again. There is no hesitation, in the moment of getting out of trouble. Lucifer fluttered his wings again and was about to escape from heaven. Lucifer and Michael were once called the right hand of God. The two integrate, and can exert some of the power of the original God, enough to resist the current Caesar. But integrate takes a short time, and Caesar will never die carelessly. Lucifer understood this and couldn't integrate, so he waited for Caesar's legion to free up his hands. Neither of them will survive. He thought very clearly, but it was a pity. Still a step too late. The incomparably powerful Holy Kesha has led many angels to kill all the angels. At the moment, the three kings converged and formed the angel battle formation. There are also dozens of high-level angels behind the three kings who are backed up in formation and charging. It was enough to stop Lucifer. Lucifer, you! After seeing Lucifer escape from the trap, Michael spread his wings and fled without hesitation, without caring about the continuation of heaven and hell. He wanted to say the last sentence. But seeing that Lucifer was blocked by the three kings, he glanced around again. There are very few angels in heaven who are still fighting. Heaven, it's over. All angels, for the glory of the Lord, sacrifice to the flames of heaven. 99. Michael roared in despair, hoping to add huge amounts of energy to the flames of heaven by sacrificing all the angels who were still alive. Then use this energy to repel Caesar. As for the dead angel, as long as the flames of heaven are still there, as long as the faith of the earth is still there, sooner or later, heaven will be restored. Is this what you mean by the flames of heaven? Valena threw a milky white flame in her hand. Heavenly flames. It has been directly captured by Valena. Michael looked at Valena in despair and said nothing. Just throw away all the angels and Lucifer, and rush out of the gate of heaven. As long as God lives, heaven will not perish. But the blue light flashed, and the gate of heaven was close at hand, but it seemed to be far away. God is dead. Caesar stood quietly behind Michael, and slowly pulled a flaming sword away from Michael's chest. Looking at the golden bloodstains left on the sword of flames, he carefully looked at the sword of flames whose power had not increased at all. He casually threw it to a high-ranking angel. Sure enough, Michael is not God. Caesar sighed, then looked at Lucifer, who was scrambling left and right in angels' battle formation. Give Lucifer a little more time, and he can really break through the obstacles of Kesha and the others. But unfortunately, he has no time. Without hesitation, Caesar and Valena joined forces to unite the three kings of angel. Soon Lucifer was beheaded directly in heaven. Then, after a careful observation of heaven, Caesar lit a sun again in heaven before leaving heaven. Out of the protection of the flames of heaven, and cut off the channel of soul belief, the dimension of heaven begins to collapse. From now on, heaven does not exist. Caesar threw the flames of heaven and the furnace of hell directly into the pool of reincarnation. Let the pool of reincarnation begin to directly link the soul beliefs of the entire earth. After that, the human body just dies. Regardless of goodness, the soul will fly directly to the reincarnation pool. Then, the evildoer will be directly decomposed into energy by the hell furnace in the reincarnation pool. Those who are devout will be transformed into new angels in the flames of heaven in the reincarnation pool. Definitely, that will be the brand new angel who is only loyal to Caesar. Heaven has collapsed, and Hell 333 will not be able to survive after losing its energy source. But Caesar still didn't let the hell go directly, and used the son of hell, Manman, to find the hell that was shielded and defended urgently again. Without rest, the army attacked again. Hell is not as powerful as heaven, especially after Lucifer died in heaven. The strongest fighting force is only Mephisto of the fourth order medium level. But in the process of Caesar destroying Hell this time, Mephisto has never appeared. Mephisto escaped from Hell. Perhaps, hidden in the world. Mephisto was supposed to take the place of the original Satan and become the new king of Hell. But was fallen angel Lucifer directly stole the authority of Hell. But because of this, he has always been dissatisfied with Lucifer and disobeyed. And when he learned that the furnace of Hell had been taken away, Lucifer had died, and the devil had no power. He even forcibly suppressed his greed to become the new Satan. Instead, he immediately escaped from Hell for a while. Human beings will always have evil thoughts anyway. Occasionally devouring a sinful soul or two can keep Mephisto alive forever. Mephisto, who was deliberately avoiding, made Caesar never find it after multiple scans. Caesar shook his head, ignoring the dodging Mephisto for the moment. Begin to connect with Loki, who has been missing for a long time. When summoning the Angel Legion with the power of the Space Gem, Caesar is not what he used to be. Deliberately conceal the fluctuation of space. Violent and seemingly impossible to control the spatial fluctuations, enough to attract the attention of people in the universe. Thanos, no doubt, was one of them. Chapter 76 The most suitable candidate. My dear brother, the great ruler of the heavenly palace, you seem to have foreseen all this long ago. 99. Loki is far beyond the galaxy. Using the power of the psychic scepter, in front of Caesar, projected his own psychic reflection. As a Protoss, seeing some future is nothing. And, anyway, there's really no better place to go to Midgard and grab the space gem than you. With a warm smile on his face, Caesar greeted Loki cordially to roar. It is extremely difficult to take the mind scepter from Thanos. But getting the psychic scepter from Loki might just be a deal. The Tesseract started out as an Asgard treasure. Thanos had attacked Asgard thousands of years ago in an attempt to capture the space gem. However, he was beaten directly by Odin. No longer dare to enter the defense line of the Nine Realms rashly. The time gem is in the hands of the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One, and Thanos knows it well. But due to the power of Odin and Ancient One, they could only be captured after they all died. Now Odin, although somewhat old, is still alive. Thanos has no confidence in taking Odin's meteor strike, nor can he handle the Sorcerer Supreme with Time Gem in his hands. He would never go to Midgard himself now. Thousands of years have passed, and Thanos is still obsessed with Tesseract. After Collector showed the power of space, it was suspected that Collector exchanged Tesseract from Odin, but he went to the door to fight and found that it was not the power of Space Gem. After Caesar also showed the power of space, Thanos also suspected that Caesar, as an Aesir god, stole the Tesseract, and then escaped from Asgard. The supergiant who is best at reconnaissance is also arranged to test Caesar. As a result, Supergiant died, but it was also discovered that Caesar did not have the power of the Space Gem. Caesar had already gained the ability to teleport at that time. After talking to Caesar, Thanos' desire to keep the universe in balance grew stronger. There is also a growing desire for infinite gems. Until not long ago, Caesar purposely uses the Space Gem to deliver erratic spatial fluctuations. Moreover, the place where this fluctuation is reported is Midgard. Midgard belongs to the Nine Realms. Well, on the premise that Thanos himself cannot come to Midgard to capture the Tesseract. There is nothing better than being the regent of Asgard once. Odin's son, one of Midgard's titular rulers, Loki. It is more suitable to retrieve the treasure that has always belonged to Asgard in Midgard, the Tesseract. And then, in the form of a friendly exchange to Thanos? Foreign enemies invade and snatch treasures, and princes' civil strife and friendly exchanges are two completely different concepts. Odin gave Caesar the dominion of Midgard, but that was only a secret deal between Odin and Caesar. Nominally, Midgard is still ruled by Asgard. Even if Loki attracts countless Chitauri, it can't be regarded as an invasion by foreign enemies, at most it can be regarded as a civil strife. Sorcerer Supreme won't step in. Caesar thought of this from the very beginning, so he hid the news that the space gem was in his hands as early as possible. Then, make a deal with Loki. Now, the deal appears to be a success. Caesar thought about it and asked Loki to provide the coordinates. Then he immediately used the power of the space gem to teleport. Get the mind scepter directly in your hand. But Loki watched Caesar silently. Coordinates have not been provided for a long time. Caesar also changed a bit. He'd seen it, Loki now wanted more. Seeing Caesar's face change, Loki hurriedly said, "My dear brother, I was just wondering if one, or even two, of the planets of life you promised me could be replaced by Midgard 39. I want to rule the entire Midgard within the scope of the 9 realms. I will prove to everyone that I will be a qualified ruler." Loki from start to finish, always wanted nothing more than a proof. Prove yourself worthy of being the son of Odin. Prove yourself enough to be a qualified king. But he didn't understand the importance and mystery of Midgard. I don't understand that Midgard now belongs to Caesar. Also, Caesar has established angels' faith there. With all believers, signed the oath of God and man. At the very least, they must be protected from the domination of foreign enemies. Caesar was silent for a moment, not speaking, just looking at Loki coldly. Loki took a step back, after traveling through the universe and teaching Thanos. He has a clearer understanding of Caesar's strength. However, the desire to prove himself finally overcomes the fear of Caesar. Anyway, for Frigga's sake, Caesar would never take his life easily for some trivial matter. Loki raised his head and said excitedly, "I am the king. I am the most suitable ruler of the 9 realms, 5. Seeing that Caesar still didn't answer, Loki whispered again. "Thanos has complied with my request, and he will send a Chitauri fleet to fight for me. I can easily take Midgard. So, you want to threaten me with Thanos?" 99. Caesar's gaze at Loki grew colder. "So, what's the price?" "I'll take the Tesseract for him." Loki knows reply. But then he said again, "I just need an army to rule Midgard." 35. Never give the Tesseract to Thanos. "My dear brother, if you are willing to help me rule Midgard, then I am willing to put the psychic scepter into your hands at once." Caesar was silent for a while, trying to understand something. Then looked at Loki coldly and said, "Loki, it looks like you don't understand." 35. But that's okay. I can help you open the space channel, attract Chitauri's fleet, and let them help you rule Midgard. As long as you can rule Midgard smoothly, I can guarantee that Asgard will never have any opinion. A cold light flashed in Caesar's eyes. Chitauri's invasion is also a good thing for Caesar. Tony. History Stark needs to understand the situation on Earth. Those who have just settled down need to understand who will keep them safe. Angel's Legion will give Chitauri an unforgettable, good Zhao lesson. As for Asgard's opinion, Midgard's reign has been secretly handed over to Caesar, and Asgard will definitely not have any opinion. Only Caesar had an opinion. Plus, if Thanos didn't really feel like he could have a second infinite gem right away, Thanos will not take the opportunity of Bifrost's destruction to go to Nidavi and force Nidavi's dwarfs to forge the Infinity Gauntlet machine for him. If Thanos doesn't go, isn't the gift that Caesar prepared for him scrapped? If Thanos doesn't go, how does Caesar get those stubborn dwarfs to concentrate on his work? Since Loki wants to play, Caesar doesn't mind letting the Battle of New York repeat itself in a different way. Caesar and Loki agreed that after 10 days, when the majority of Chitauri's fleet was assembled, he would mobilize the power of the space gem to pick up Loki. Then, 5 days after Loki's arrival, directly help Loki and open the door of space. Attract the Chitauri army and rule the Earth. Blink. 10 days later. Chapter 77 The Avengers Who Came to the Door. With the arrival of the appointed time, Caesar used the power of the space gem to open an unstable space passage. Will there be any discomfort going through this channel? That is definitely outside the scope of Caesar. After all, Tesseract should only be used by a faction that cannot use the space gem stably. Thanos definitely sensed the wave and gave Loki a wink. Loki glanced at Thanos, then very consciously followed the wave, took the Mind Scepter, and entered the wormhole directly. Seeing that Loki entered the wormhole and disappeared directly. Beside Thanos, the most heartfelt and powerful head of the 5 Obsidian generals, Ebony Maw said, "My great master, so let him take your treasure. What if he refuses to fulfill his promise after taking the secret treasure? After all, he is the god of lies and mischief." All this time, because of Caesar's remarks, Thanos, who slaughtered the unfamiliar planet with more force and tried his best to maintain the balance of the universe, looked a little tired. He deliberately found a planet that he had slaughtered for hundreds of years. "I took a look and found that civilization, and that planet. There are only a few people left, lingering on the planet that has become like a waste star. Because just after being killed, the resources are sufficient. Let them reproduce 337 more easily. Because of fear, I don't know when and where, a disaster like Thanos' sudden attack will come inexplicably. They begin to enjoy themselves and use resources indiscriminately. They are afraid, they are helpless, they act arbitrarily. In the end, this civilization, along with this planet, went to destruction." Thanos watched this scene coldly, and then directly destroyed the planet. He continues to execute his plan, trying his best to maintain the balance of the universe. Only this time, instead of killing half. Instead, kill 3/4. In any case, it can last for a while, it is a period of time. Can be a little more balanced, is a little bit. Thanos thought and did so. Thanos is indeed a little tired, but his strength and domineering can still not be concealed. Loki, too weak. Odin is old, he can't protect him, and he won't necessarily protect him. He knows very well that some things can't be done and he knows the consequences. He can't escape. Thanos said very confidently. Even Loki holds a Mind Scepter, plus a Tesseract. It won't be looked down upon by Thanos either. Infinite gems are powerful indeed, but not everyone can unleash their full power. At least Loki, in Thanos' eyes. Not enough. After Thanos finished speaking, he got up and led Ebony Maw towards, Adsi, Nidavi. Loki passed through the unstable space passage in a daze, and then rolled over and came to Caesar. Loki took a few steps back subconsciously, and then stepped forward again embarrassingly. "My dear brother, can't you stabilize this space channel? I really wonder if I'll be half by the time I get to Midgard." Loki is joking with Caesar, trying to soften things up with Caesar. But Caesar didn't answer, just stared coldly at Loki and the psychic scepter in his hand. Loki definitely understood Caesar's intentions. Looking at the surrounding environment, I finally shook the Mind Scepter in the handshake. He knew in his heart that he couldn't resist Caesar no matter what. So he put a smile on his face, and handed the spiritual scepter directly to Caesar as a gift. "My dear brother, I have faithfully fulfilled my agreement with you, please don't forget my conditions." Caesar took the Mind Scepter and looked at it for a while, but did not directly remove the Mind Gem from the scepter. Right now, he cannot control the power of multiple infinite gems at the same time. He needs the artifact that is being forged, to use the power of the artifact. To control multiple infinity at the same time. Seeing that Caesar was only interested in studying the scepter of the mind, Loki couldn't help it. With a shy smile, he kept dangling in front of Caesar. Caesar came back to his senses, glanced at Loki, with a meaningful smile on his face, said to Loki, "Relax, promise your terms, I will do all of them. In 5 days, I will help you attract Chitauri's fleet." Hearing Caesar's reassurance, Loki finally relaxed. He believed that there was no need for Caesar to lie to him. Now, just wait, 5 days later. SHIELD. The huge amounts of energy reaction reappeared, but the duration was short, and the exact location could not be determined. AS.H.I.E.L.D. agent looked at the energy response graph on the computer screen in front of him and said hurriedly. Lock a rough range, then, check thoroughly, 35. If you want to use the energy of Tesseract, you must at least have a sophisticated laboratory and conduct thorough exclusion inspections. They can't escape. Nick Fury said resolutely. That energy is too powerful. Back then, Hydra tried to use its energy to rule the world. Now, it's emitting a reaction again. We must keep it in the hands of SHIELD. For world peace. Find out the Tesseract. Nick Fury inspires all the agents, as well as the Avengers who have basically assembled. Captain America's blood boiled, and he wished he could find Tesseract immediately. He deeply understands the dangers of Hydra and Tesseract. The Tesseract is too dangerous to fall into the hands of unfamiliar forces. As for Iron Man and Hulk, they yawned noncommittally. They have always had little trust in the so-called SHIELD and high-level government officials. If it weren't for the fact that the Earth was becoming more and more dangerous, all the angels and aliens would have escaped. Tony didn't want to be an Avenger. He has no revenge now, and he does not need revenge. That mysterious alien god's invitation from a year ago, isn't mysterious anymore. The invitation of the new Lord still made him very uneasy. He really didn't think so. The alien god who gave him the planet as his annual salary would become the new master unexpectedly. Now the temples and churches around the world are basically replaced by his statue. Every time I see it, Tony doesn't know what to say. Just, that God? Why did you suddenly give up on continuing to let me work for him? Tony was a little puzzled. And Dr. Banner glanced at Iron Man, who also looked a little boring. He smiled and walked back to his room. Because of Black Widow's invitation, he is willing to contribute to the protection of the Earth. But he always felt that something was not quite right. World peace? Can world peace really be protected by a team of Avengers? Or can America's peace represent world peace? And to protect world peace, do you have to control all those powerful forces in your own hands? Hulk like this, Tesseract like this? Who knows if they use the power of Hulk or Tesseract to protect the peace? Or make war? Dr. Banner was puzzled. He always felt that some of his original experiments and the hatred he had fought with him were behind. There is a mysterious force pushing. New York, inside the Church of the New God. Caesar is comprehending the power within himself. He seemed to have an illusion. Staying on Earth for a long time has actually caused his soul to grow slightly. It improved his fine use of solar power and space gems a lot. But the arrival of some uninvited guests interrupted his perception. The agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., after several days of investigation, finally found the inside of this new Church of God. There are some exceptions. Caesar sensed the crowd outside the church. With a slight smile, he didn't even guess whether the Avengers could find it here because Hydra made a big effort, or if the Skrulls were secretly supporting it. He just said to Loki, "The appointed time has come." Chapter 78 Original Sin. Definitely, those Chitauri can't wait, too. Loki glanced at the statue of Caesar in the Church of the New God, and secretly decided. Be sure to keep those Chitauri under control and try not to destroy these churches. When it comes to belief, Loki doesn't care. But before opening those passages, there may be a little trouble. Caesar easily covered his and Valina's faces. Some things can be done, but it's best not to be published. For example, as the new master, he actually opened the channel for aliens to invade the Earth. Gentlemen, I think you are in big trouble. Can I trouble you to hand over the little blue stone in your hand to me? 35. Nick. Fury led Iron Man and the others, took the lead, rushed directly into the church, and said to Caesar, whose face was hidden and blue light shone in his hands. "Oh," Caesar gave Nick Fury a careful look. Then with a smile, he said to Nick Fury, "Why should I give it to you? This Nick Fury is true." Nick Fury hasn't had time to answer. Captain America hurriedly said, "That thing was too dangerous and had to be properly kept." Caesar glanced at him. Because of the use of super serum, his good character was completely magnified. He was considered a brainwashed Captain America and did not reply. "What is proper custody? How should it be defined? Who will define it? This is a problem. Sir, you have no choice. Immediately, hand over the dangerous items in your hands, or we will arrest you for the crime of endangering national security at any cost." 99. Nick Fury is much more direct than Captain America. He waved his hand, Black Widow took out his gun directly, and Hawkeye also caught the arrow. The agents behind also all aimed at Caesar with their weapons. Caesar looked at all this coldly, and the masked face made many Avengers unable to see Caesar's expression. But they seemed to suddenly feel a coldness. Caesar said softly, "So, a large group of you suddenly gathered around and used these so-called weapons to target a person who was obviously from a foreign country." 99. Forcing him to hand over something in his hand. "If you don't hand it over, will you be punished for the crime of endangering national security?" "Sorry, this is not my country. But I finally understood that being weak is not the original sin, but arrogance and greed." 55. Dangerous? Endangering national security? Well, I will do as you wish. Caesar tapped his left hand, and a huge incomparable energy shot straight into the sky. Destroy the entire roof of the church. Above the sky, white clouds drifted away, a huge amount of space passage has been formed. Countless Chitauri, either riding Leviathan, or directly driving small flight machines from a gigantic mothership, keep falling to the earth. The war has begun. The Avengers who were directly hit by the strong energy shockwave looked at all this in shock. Caesar and Valina ignored the so-called Avengers and disappeared in front of everyone. Said to Loki at the same time, "Now, it's your war." Loki glanced at the crowd of Avengers who had gathered around again. Change at will, God's domain armor and body protection, spear in hand, high-spirited. Said to the vigilant Avengers, "Midgard, your ruler, is back. I shall." But before the words were finished, a long arrow and a large number of bullets and artillery fire directly drowned Loki. During the fireworks, Loki waved his hand unharmed to disperse the smoke, then coughed and said to the Avengers, "Damn, can't you just listen to me and finish? Kill them." Loki waved his hand directly, and a large number of Chitauri directly drove the small flight device and pulled the energy gun in his hand. Attacked the Avengers. The battle officially begins. But what will happen to the current Avengers without Thor's help? Thor saw through Heimdall's eyes that Loki was not dead, but came to Midgard. But after seeing Loki and Caesar together, Thor has no reason to spend a huge amount of dark energy on Midgard again. Take Loki away. The Chitauri are a fighting race similar to the Zerg. They have been combined with machinery since they were just born. The semi-biological and semi-mechanical structure makes them not afraid of death, their strength is infinite, and their bodies are hard. Every Chitauri soldier has strength close to level 1. Except for one weakness. If the mothership is damaged, all Zetas controlled by the mothership will be paralyzed. But the mothership is far beyond the void, and each Chitauri soldier is far more powerful than the average S.H.I.E.L.D agent. The battle fell into an almost one-sided situation. Ordinary bullets can hardly kill Chitauri when they don't directly hit their underprotected head. But every attack by Chitauri is not something that ordinary body armor can resist. Soon, S.H.I.E.L.Ds agents suffered heavy casualties. The whole of New York, also threatened by a steady stream of Chitauri, was thrown into chaos. Chitauri did not wantonly massacre and destruction. Loki is here to rule Midgard, not to balance Midgard. For the people under his command in the future, as long as they don't resist, Loki is happy to protect their safety. He wants to prove that he is really a qualified ruler. Ordinary people did not receive direct harm from Chitauri, but under the chaos, they also caused a lot of casualties. New York's original security force, looking at the ugly Chitauri, bravely attacked. Try to expel them. Then, face death bravely. One is an interstellar civilization, and the other has not yet left the planet. The difference in average technology level is hard to imagine. Loki rides aboard a Chitauri ship, high above, looking down at everything below. If the power of the earth was only what it showed before him, then ruling the whole of Midgard would be a piece of cake. Damn, so many, they're still popping up constantly. 0, 4 flowers. Nick. Fury raised his hand and shot at Chitauri, then yelled eagerly. Around him, Captain America, Hawkeye and others are getting together to support each other. There must be a way to close that portal. Find the mysterious man who disappeared, only he can turn that off. Also, try to control the lead bastard on the head. Nick. Fury quickly arranged the countermeasures. There is no problem with the countermeasures. But, with their strength. But the plan could not be completed at all. Iron Man sprinted high into the air, trying to attack Loki directly. But the massive Chitauri formed a tight defense that stopped Tony's advance. Merely alone, in a suit of armor. How much ammo can you carry and how many enemies can you kill? Not enough, far from enough. The Hulk angrily destroyed everything in front of him. Whether it is Leviathan or Chitauri, they are extremely vulnerable in front of the Hulk. But, equally destroyed, except for those Chitauri and Leviathan behemoths. 0. And those New York buildings, and the people in those buildings. The Hulk went crazy, but he never cared about the safety of ordinary people. To put it bluntly, ordinary people who died because of the madness of the Hulk. It far exceeds the casualties that Chitauri has brought to ordinary people so far. Caesar concealed his figure, watching all this with a cold eye. The people of the earth need to understand that the earth is never safe. Danger may come at any time. Tony also needs to understand that the so-called Avengers, the so-called S.H.I.E.L.D, cannot protect Earth at all. Only God can protect all human beings. Caesar watched as the Hulk made no distinction between enemy and foe, killing and killing. There are even some who want to laugh, uncontrollable forces. Sure enough, it makes no sense. Iron Man is running out of ammo, but is still struggling. He really wanted to protect those ordinary people. And Nick. Fury they fought and retreated. Not to mention finding the trail of Caesar, close the space channel. Not even Loki, who was laughing at them from the sky, couldn't do it. Captain America raised his shield to help Black Widow fend off a deadly attack. But Black Widow didn't even have time to thank him, and hurriedly shot and killed a Chitauri who aimed at Hawkeye. Hawkeye resolutely touched the quiver behind him, and shot a sharp arrow with a rope, which was firmly hooked on a flight device. Then, try to climb on top of the flight device and control the flight device. Help Tony, in the air, defeat Loki. But when Hawkeye had just tightened the rope, he was still floating in the air. Countless laser attacks instantly turned Hawkeye into a sieve. Swing in the air, that is a living target. And Hawkeye is an ordinary person with a mortal body. The Avengers are losing ground, even the Hulk. Under the salvo of a large number of Chitauri flight devices, they fled in embarrassment. Caesar was still watching all this coldly. Prepare to wait until the situation is most critical before ordering Angel to take action. Save the people from fire and water. However, a sudden message came. Interrupted his original plan. Knife. Chapter 79 I Am God. Thanos arrives at Nidavi and is forcing the dwarf king Atri to forge the Infinity Gauntlet for him. Atri calls Asgard for help, but Bifrost is destroyed. Asgard no longer has the ability to respond quickly beyond the line of sight. Odin forcibly expended a lot of dark energy, and he might be able to send Thor alone to Nidavi. However, Thor alone is no match for Thanos and his vast fleet. Nidavi. Ruthlessly abandoned by Odin. Asgard didn't come to help. Atri finally thought of Caesar, who had specially instructed them. As the ruler of the heavenly palace, and with the ability to teleport, Caesar is enough to repel Thanos. So, Atri sent a message to Caesar asking for help. Caesar gave Loki one last playful look. One more look at the believers who are either praying to the new Lord or still praying to God under the threat of Chitauri. It's over, he said softly. The voice just fell. The Sky 340 that had been prepared for a long time made the first army lined up and came from afar. Hit Chitauri directly. The Angel Legion. How is this possible? How could this planet have the protection of the Angel Legion? 35. Retreat, retreat, retreat now. Take that Aesir and retreat immediately. Commander Chitauri was on the mothership, watching the battlefield very easily. But the Angel Corps suddenly appeared in sight. Let them die right away. There was no communication, no negotiation, and he just planned to lead Loki to escape. The prestige of the Angel Legion. Forged with the blood and fire of countless cosmic fleets. Chitauri doesn't want to die yet. But Loki didn't retreat immediately. The smile that was always on Loki's face froze when he saw the Angel Legion appear. But not completely solidified. He thought happily. Perhaps Caesar's Angel Legion is here to help him rule this Midgard. 5. However, it is like asking the autumn wind to sweep the leaves away. No, it's just a gust of wind blowing fruit. The moment the Angel Legion passed by, all the Chitauri still in the sky above New York turned into pieces. Then, it was as dense as raindrops. Fall to the ground. Loki watched it all helplessly. Even the Chitauri piloted for him on his flight device had his head chopped off by an angel. The tip of the flame sword seemed to be only a few centimeters away from him at that time. Loki stood alone on the still floating flight device. The smile on his face gradually solidified. Then began to twist. Then roared into the sky. Caesar! You! Not finished. It was photographed directly by a high-level angel. It fell straight to the ground. A large hole was formed. Angels won't kill Loki though. But it's also hard to see Loki insulting the Creator in their hearts. All the Chitauri who were too late to retreat have all died. The rest also returned to the void through the wormhole. Sacred Keisha flapped her wings, holding the sword of flames, and came to the front of the wormhole. Glancing at Chitauri's mothership, which was escaping quickly outside the wormhole, he waved his hand vigorously and cut out a huge amount of sword energy. Directly cut the fleeing mothership into pieces. Then, with that sword energy swung out, huge amounts of space passages were also slowly closed. It seems that the crisis in New York has been completely dismantled. But, no one expected. Not far away, a missile loaded with a nuclear warhead. It is rapidly approaching New York. The nuclear bomb exploded with only 1 minute left. Washing the ground with nuclear bombs is a routine operation of those politicians. Wherever the enemy is. Anyway, a nuke first. A large number of civilians who watched Angel descend and kill all the intruders are still in love with Angel and roar. Huge amounts of missiles, and the entire New York, fell into the shadow of destruction. Iron Man looked at the missile helplessly. Just planning to hold that missile into the sky, at least reduce the casualties of some civilians. A high-ranking angel stopped him directly, and flew towards the missile. Both hands seemed to hold the missile very hard, and twisted its direction forcefully. Then he flapped his wings vigorously, holding the missile. Flew into the void. When that angel was taller than all the angels, he even looked back at all the angels and all the civilians very kindly, with a determined smile on his face. After a minute, angel and the missile disappeared into the void at the same time with a burst of intense light. I don't know what the angel did, but the nuclear bomb did not explode with the power he imagined. All the angels and civilians became silent. Under the leadership of Holy Keisha, the angels lined up again and gradually disappeared into the air. It's just that the queue that should have been complete suddenly left a corner. It was the angel who had perished with the nuclear bomb and should have returned. The vast majority of the commoners watched all this and began to sing the God Covenant loudly. The faith of the new Lord is rapidly changing to piety. Caesar secretly sighed, that high-level angel who is used to spreading beliefs is good at acting. The high-level angel is not afraid of a nuclear bomb attack at all. Then looked at the fall to the ground. Loki being besieged by the surviving Avengers. I am God. You mortals, you should. Loki yelled at the Avengers. But the angry Hulk brought up Loki directly and began to beat repeatedly. Bang! 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 The ground is a mess. Loki lay blankly on the crushed ground, staring blankly at Hulk. What a weak god! The Hulk said disdainfully. Kill him and avenge Hawkeye and everyone else. After Black Widow finished speaking, he shot Loki directly on the forehead. But the bullet hit Loki in the forehead as if it had hit indestructible steel. First there was a bang, and a little spark was wiped out. Then the warhead flattened and fell silently on Loki's forehead. Ordinary weapons can't hurt Loki at all. Loki was not killed by the angry Black Widow. Instead, he was relieved by the bullet. Just wanted to speak. Several urgent orders came suddenly in Nick Fury's ear. Ask Nick Fury to save Loki's life no matter what. Nick Fury stops Tony from attacking Loki with the laser. After thinking about it, he said to Loki, "You will usher in the judgment of the whole earth." Loki glanced at the Hulk and Black Widow who was picking up the Chitauri weapon, and hurriedly said, "I am truly a god. My brother is your new master, and those angels are also his subordinates." 99. 2.2 You have no right to hurt me. 99. You are not qualified to judge me. 35. If you are really a god, the younger brother of the new master, those angels will drive away those aliens and photograph you directly. Nick Fury scoffed. He didn't believe Loki at all. I had a little conflict with my brother, just a little family conflict. Your new master is really my brother. Loki rolled his eyes and said hastily. Then, he started shouting at the surrounding. My dear brother, I know you are watching here, come out. Nick Fury and others looked coldly at where Loki was saved by Roar, and then said with a sneer. Even if you are really the Lord's brother, it's impossible. Hey, time is a little tight, he is indeed my younger brother, can I just let me take him away? 5. Caesar, dressed as the new master, appeared little by little in front of Nick Fury and others. Chapter 80 The Big Gift. Loki watched Caesar appear before him. As soon as he opened his mouth, he wanted to question why Caesar let his angel army attack his Chitauri. If you want to stop yourself, why open the space channel? But under one look from Caesar, Loki rolled his eyes and shut his mouth obediently. Is he really your brother? Tony Stark asked in shock. Mainly they don't look alike. Caesar nodded at Tony. Nick Fury just shut his mouth. Watching Caesar did not speak. Black Widow couldn't hold back the anger in his heart and hurriedly said. He killed Hawkeye. Hundreds of people died because of him. He deserves to be tried. Oh, we're cousins. Caesar tilted his head, glanced at the dusty Black Widow with blood on his forehead, and said softly. But, do you think I am begging you? Loki is right, you are not qualified to judge a god. I knew, my dear brother, that we were just having a little family conflict. After listening to Caesar, Loki immediately smiled and said to Caesar, family conflicts? Can a so-called family conflict kill so many innocent people? What do you think of human beings? Tony Stark asked in a low voice, hoarsely. In the past, when God was angry, he would often set off a great flood to cleanse the whole world. Now, there are some contradictions between God, and some people have died. But in the end it got good results. 35. So, what's the problem? Caesar stared at the crowd, and a huge amount of pressure made them feel spontaneously. I even felt as if I couldn't open my mouth at all. Caesar looked at Stark and shook his head. These are nothing at all. In the past, the number of civilians who died under the weapons you made was at least 10 times as many as today. Hulkman slaughtered humans also account for more than half of today's deaths. What do you think of human beings? Caesar's eyes gradually swept across the crowd, looking at Nick. Fury. He seemed to be looking at him, and he seemed to be looking at some shadows behind him. After Caesar finished speaking, he did not give the Avengers a chance to speak again, a coercion that crushed everyone except the Hulk. As for the Hulk, Caesar just glanced at him, and 2 golden flames flashed in his eyes. The Hulk obediently became a banner. After everyone lay down, Caesar stepped forward and pulled Loki up. Disappeared immediately. That is not a request at all, but the will of the Lord. He left Loki in the wilderness and told him to stay well. Caesar estimated the time and deliberately went a little later. It should make Atri and the others understand more. No power, no shelter. Dwarf? Nothing. The 3 angel legions will meet again, and Valina will follow Caesar. Caesar thought for a while, and directly handed the spiritual scepter to Holy Keisha. Let Keisha's strength be further strengthened. Then, directly use the power of the space gem to cut through the space. Came to Nidavi. It goes with the big gift that Caesar prepared earlier. Caesar would like to know if he can take Thanos here today. Nidavi, the dwarf king Atri is leading the dwarfs to prepare the Infinity Gauntlet for Thanos. Atreyu wanted to stall for time. But after Thanos killed a dwarf directly, Atri obediently activated the furnace. At the same time, he was even more dissatisfied with Asgard, who did not fulfill his oath at all. There are not many dwarfs that survive in the world. Every dwarf is precious. The star core is exuding immeasurable heat, converging into a scorching ray of light that accurately passes through the star ring, forging those precious materials. These materials are Caesar's. I hope that guy won't ask me to compensate. 35. But, damn it, didn't he say he was willing to shelter Nidavi in times of distress? Atui thought to herself as she slowly tapped the molten precious metal. If I guessed right. The materials you are forging are mine. The blue door of light suddenly appeared in Nidavi, Caesar and a large number of angels. Step out quickly. Thanos also has 4 generals behind him, vanguard guards and Chitauri soldiers. All started to concentrate. Long time no see, Thanos. 35. How about you, do you want to join me now? As long as I can unify this universe, I can really find a way to maintain the balance of this universe. Caesar looked at Thanos with a smile, and by the way gave him his right hand. Thanos' pupils were slightly dilated, a blue light gate. Familiar spatial fluctuations. And the familiar psychic scepter. And, Loki, is an Aesir. It made Thanos understand everything in an instant. Have you seen me and Loki's future? Although Thanos had doubts, his words were full of affirmation. Caesar didn't answer, still holding out his right hand, looking at Thanos with a smile. Did you see that I finally succeeded? Thanos was silent for a moment, then asked. No. Caesar shook his head, withdrew his right hand, and replied slowly and firmly. Oh, I see. Thanos sighed wearily, then continued. The universe needs balance. Even me, no exception. Thanos has only one idea in his mind. If you don't succeed, you will die. Ebony Maw gets down on one knee first. Salute to the lofty ideals of Thanos. Behind him, all the Obsidian generals and soldiers knelt on the ground. They are the most loyal subordinates of Thanos. Or for that noble idea. Or be captivated by the charm of Thanos. Above the void, the main gun of Holy Place No. 1 began to charge. A large number of irrational combat weapons, such as Vanguard guards and ordinary Zeta Swiss soldiers, were all untied. The war has begun. Without the slightest hesitation, the moment Ebony Maw and others got up. Covered in golden armor, Thanos, who was armed with a ship-cutting sword, rushed directly to Caesar. And the 4 Obsidian generals, and all the soldiers of the Dark Quadrant. Then he directly surrounded Angel. Thanos came to Nidavi in preparation for Odin's surprise attack. Bring all the elite. Unexpectedly, it happened to encounter Kai 340 SA. As the two armies were about to hand over, Atri opened his eyes wide, and secretly beckoned Roar. The dwarfs took their weapons and retreated a little. On the top and most terrifying battlefield in the universe, Ikreek didn't want the few remaining dwarfs to face the edge. For each dwarf, Atri remembered their names and preferences. Dwarf, really not much. Caesar glanced at the dwarf who stepped back slightly. Atri looked at Caesar with an embarrassed smile, but did not stop recruiting Roar Dwarf to back away secretly. Caesar didn't care either. If he was replaced as the king of dwarf, Caesar might have done more obviously. Besides, the skills of the dwarfs are related to the artifact he wants to forge. It is better not to die. The army of the Dark Quadrant obviously far exceeds the number of angels. And they are also elite enough to fight to balance the entire universe all the year round. Although it is not as good as the Angel Corps, it really wants to form a melee. The casualties of the Angel Legion were by no means small. Caesar had already said that he did not want to see a large number of angels killed in front of him. The big gift prepared for Thanos early in the morning, at the moment just came in handy. The humming began as Caesar descended. When Caesar came, the originally stable star core began to rotate slowly. Now, the humming sound has resounded through the battlefield, and the star core is turning faster and faster, and it is getting hotter and hotter. It took Caesar a whole year to secretly compress the energy of 1,000 suns in the core of the star. The power of 1,000 stars is only for one blow. This blow is today. End of the chapter. Like and subscribe for more videos like this.